It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live.
Live.
WildEarth takes you on daily intimate experiences in nature live.
This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
Join expert guides as they search for Africa's most iconic animals.
How awesome is this? She's coming right past our vehicle. Take a closer look here.
Oh, careful. Oh, no.
Ask your host questions and have them answered in real time. Join us live every day on WildEarth. This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jambo, and welcome to Masai Mara, and this is your afternoon live safari. Jambo everyone, and another lovely afternoon. Welcome to your live safari. It's coming to you live from the Masai Mara in the Mara Triangle. And this afternoon, remember to talk to us on #WildEarth. Send in your questions to @FC. This afternoon, our temperatures are really nice. It's around 27 degrees Celsius, and we expect some rain, and I hope it's going to hold a little bit so that we can roll this live safari. Here I have Bahati, Kijana, and Bahati's mother. They have been in this, position or place for the last about, 2 days. A very good afternoon. My name is Isaac, and on camera we have Bungei. Our mission was to come and find Bahati and find out exactly what's going on. It would be nice to stay a little bit with her and Bahati and find out what's going on. Yes, the last time I saw them, they walked a very long way, and then they walked back, and on their way back she stopped here, and they have been here since then. You can tell that she's desperately in need of a meal now. She was much bigger. I think the suckling has taken its toll, and it's about time she leaves the spot. Well, I'm going to take you to our next location for my colleague to introduce him or herself, but I'll be right here.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to South Africa. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve, where we've got an elephant bull who's very interested in the sexual status of a female. In a moment, everybody, my name is Steve, joined by thereon camera, and as always, very excited to have you with us. It is a very warm day today, but the wind is blowing nicely, and so it's actually cooling us down quite nicely. So this big bull just came charging into this herd, and what he does is he goes around and he basically smells all of the females to see where they are in a reproductive state. He spent the last 5 minutes checking on that one lady and giving a proper thorough smell, and now he's moving off. So she made a bit of a noise just before you came to us that I think was a negative, but the size of him is just quite incredible. You can just see him next to that little youngster that's intimidated. Now he goes over to the next female and then, very gentlemanlike, sticks his trunk down below to have a sniff. That's what they do. And he'll take his trunk back up to his mouth and he pushes the pheromones into his organ of Jacobson, which is in the roof of the mouth, and that tells him everything he needs to know about the sexual status of that female. Obviously, they can also do it directly from urine smelling, if one of the individuals has urinated on the floor. And a wonderfully relaxed herd of elephants. Sometimes when a big bull comes into a herd like this, he can just cause all sorts of chaos, and the elephant can get quite upset. But right now, they all seem to be quite relaxed, which is great. Okay, well, we'll try to get into another position so as to see what this herd gets up to.
Good morning or good afternoon to a very warm andBeyond Phinda. We found these cheetahs and they've actually just spotted some impalas in the distance. You can see Mum walking there in front with her cubs kind of trailing in the back. She just spotted the impalas and I think she's trying to reposition herself. She's on the hunt. Look how she's staring there. My name is Dewald and behind the camera we've got Gerrit. I think let's keep on watching. We might be very, very lucky this afternoon. As we found them, they were starting to move around quite a bit. And I'm so glad that this female spotted this impala. Let's see what happens. See how she's going straight towards the tree there to try and get some cover. Have a look at her posture. She's not picking her head up all the way. Like looking around her all the time, trying to see if she can spot any other animals that might be in the vicinity. So she just stopped in the shade there, so when the sun shines onto her, she might be a little bit easier to spot. So very good for her to stop in the shade there, just waiting to see where her cubs are. So the impala that we saw moved off to the left-hand side. I can see some moving there in the background off to the left behind some trees and so, but they're still far away from her. So I think she's just waiting for a moment to see if they move to a better spot for her to stalk. Let's hope these youngsters don't do anything. There I can just see the horns of an impala walking behind the long grass straight ahead of her. But for now, I think Gerrit and I are going to just stand by here and we're going to see what this female gets up to.
Right, well, we have the perfect start to our afternoon. As you can see, we've got a leopardess lounging in the shade. She's taking it easy. It's a very warm afternoon down here at Djuma, and so I'm not surprised that she's decided to sit there. My name is Tristan. On camera, I have got Morgan this afternoon, and well, what better way is there to start an afternoon than to have a leopardess sitting on top of the mound? She's absolutely beautiful. She's a leopardess that is not new to the area, but is starting to spend a lot more time on our side. She comes from the south, and so, you know, we've started to see her, particularly in the last, I would say, probably month. She's really started to come onto our side of the world. So it's going to be really, really cool to see if she keeps pushing north. I think it's due to the fact that she's got two cubs at the moment, one a female, one a male. And both of those are going to need some space at some point, or particularly the female, and so that's probably why she's pushing. Now you can see she's yawning, which is a good indicator that maybe, just maybe, she might start moving for us. Given how warm it is,
wouldn't be surprised if she tries to go and find something to drink. But isn't she beautiful with those eyes and that pink nose? She's magnificent. It's always, like I say, such a great way to start a game drive when you find these cats so quickly. Often they can be elusive and shy and difficult to find straight off the bat. They can hide away, particularly when it's hot in dense areas, and their spotted coats really do help with kind of blending in, and it makes life a lot harder. In the afternoons and the mornings, they typically are moving around and leave tracks behind, but in the afternoons, they're often sitting like this. We're just lucky that she's sitting right out in the open on top of a mound that made it easy for us to be able to spot her. Oh, she's got her head down now. Maybe it's because when we first arrived, she was standing up.
Can you hear that? They're going to do the delay test. 1, 2, 3.
This Rebecca. I don't have promises if she answers. Just let me know.
Still alive.
Welcome back to us, everybody. Sorry about... Welcome back, everybody, and we are with our herd of elephants who are still moving through the vegetation, feeding quite vigorously. Getting a nice full belly. It seems to be mainly grass at the moment that they're feeding on, but they are sticking their heads into the bushes to feed on the longer grass that's growing underneath. The shade-tolerant grasses, such as the Panicum maximum, which we had yesterday, a nice big elephant bull doing the same thing, but very relaxed. Tails wagging, eyes very, semi-closed, and lots of feeding noises is a very good indication that a breeding herd of elephants is very relaxed. Now, many people do self-drive tours in places like the Kruger. And it's important to know these sort of subtle signs of stress or complete relaxation. Haley, you want to know how much an elephant can eat in one day? A big elephant bull can eat about 300 kilograms or so of wet material. That's a lot. It's a lot. There's huge amounts of food. And we say wet material because obviously there's a lot of moisture in it. So if you had to dry it and weigh it, it would be less. But there's moisture in it as well. And then also up to about 150 liters of water. So lots of food and lots of water, even though there's a lot of moisture in the vegetation this time of year. And not to mention the amount of water they will splash on themselves as well. Beautiful lady. That bull seems to have lost interest with the herd. I think he maybe came through and was like, let me just check everybody out. He's come up with no candidates, and he seems to have moved off. You don't find big bulls hanging around with herds if there's no mating to happen. They generally go off on their own and just hang out on the edges or away, much more comfortable in their own company or with that of other bulls. So very, very relaxed. You see the ears are flapping. Don't think ears flapping in elephant is a negative or aggressive behavior. It's the heat. They're flapping to keep themselves cool. 9 liters of blood can be pumped through those ears per minute, and by flapping, it cools them down. Very thin membrane of skin behind the ear with large sort of capillaries which bring the blood right to the surface of the skin. And so by flapping, it cools them down enormously.
Good afternoon and welcome to andBeyond in Ngala. Now we started this afternoon with a beautiful dazzle of zebra. Have a look how the one is standing right on top of the termite mound. You see how he's picked like quite a sandy spot. He initially started like he was eating the grass on the termite mound. That's often quite nutritious grass. It's the grass that doesn't get trampled by everything. And have a look how he's picked now the sandy part on the top. Now I'm just waiting for him to start and have a roll around. But good afternoon, my name is Dan, and on camera we've got OD, the OG. And with a very hot day like this, it actually looks like these zebras are coming from some water, in which case I'm going to go and have a look and see if anything else is coming towards the water. I'm going to sit and watch and see if maybe that male doesn't have a little roll around in the sand and see which way they do go. And the direction from where they are coming, it does look like they have come from some water. Sorry, an impala got my attention up ahead. Maybe there are some other animals coming down to have a drink in the heat of the day. Maybe some elephants. Look how they're watching us. They've just brought their attention towards us, ears right towards us, listening, looking. They also took the cue from the stallion that was on the top there. And now they're all trotting off into the distance. Look at this younger one watching us for a while, but I'm sure it's going to be going off to the left-hand side shortly, following the rest of the dazzle. Look at the stripes moving through the bushes. I mean, the advantage of those stripes, one theory is particularly when it's moving and running quite quickly like that, it can form like a type of optical illusion. And when lions, particularly when lions are chasing zebras and they're turning left and right very quickly, this movement of those stripes in a certain direction can confuse the predator into which direction the zebra is in fact running or moving. Okay, now they've gone off into shot. Let's see if I can quickly pop down towards this watering hole. It's not very close, but if you stick with me, there were a few impalas that were just up ahead. In the heat of the day, your bigger animals like your elephants, buffalo, will also come down towards the water. So I'm going to send you to another live location. The water's not too close by. And in the meantime, I'll go and have a look and let you know what's around the watering hole.
Just see the impalas moving there in the background. And they all seen the cheetahs, but the cheetahs went and lied flat just here, not far away from our vehicle here, but they have already kind of forgotten about these cheetahs, so we are just hoping, and I think that's what this female is doing. She's trying to not show interest in them at all, and then once they've kind of forgotten and they start feeding and start moving around again, then she might show some more interest. You can see the female on the left hand side there with a little bit of a darker face and much bigger body, and then the two youngsters off to the right hand side. Brian, you're asking if these cheetahs will stay together for life. They will unfortunately not. Would be quite nice to have prides of cheetah, but cheetahs are mostly solitary. The only time you'll see adult cheetahs together is when they're either mating or when males form coalition. So this female will probably try and break away from her 2 cubs within the next year or so. Usually it's around where the youngsters are, about 18 months or a year and a half or so. And then these 2 youngsters, as far as we know, the one that's on the left-hand side with the white tip on her ear there, that is a female, and we are yet to see the sex of the other one, but in any case, it doesn't really matter. The only chance that these 2 youngsters would have stayed together is if they were 2 males and they would have formed a coalition. But the fact that one of them is a female means that all 3 of these cheetahs will probably go their separate ways at some point. So this female, the adult female, she'll probably start looking for a mate close to when these youngsters are about a year or so old, or maybe closer to a year and a half once they've left their mother. And these other 2 youngsters, they might hang around with each other for a little bit longer after leaving mum, but they'll slowly but surely break away from each other as well. The female is just keeping on looking in this direction. See her eyes closing a little bit. So it was nice and cool when we came out this afternoon, but in the meantime there's been quite a bit of sun that's come out, and that's why they're lying in the shade here. So she's just looking around, making sure that her and her youngsters are safe. Just a bit of grooming happening, so I think if Gertna are nice and patient, we might see some action this afternoon. Look at that wind also picking up. Might make her move to some more open clearings further away from some big bushes or so. This female is easily identifiable just by looking at her face with that dark coloration that she has on her nose there. So in the next couple of days, if we ever find some cheetahs in this particular area, it will be nice to see if it is the same female and cubs, because unfortunately we have 3 cheetah females with 2 cubs each, or all around about the same age, so have to identify the mothers or some of the youngsters with some identifying features to see where they are hanging around. So she's breathing quite heavily, so it is nice and warm still. Lisa, they are such a beautiful family, and these 2 youngsters are always so playful. When we just found them this afternoon, they were actually grooming each other as they started moving around. I think they were resting and waiting for it to cool down a bit, so even though it is still nice and warm, it's cooled down significantly from earlier. Just see the one youngster there on the right hand side, just keeping an eye on the side. Interesting how they're all looking in the different directions. Timothy, you're asking how long cheetahs live for. So in different areas it might be a little bit different because of pressure from other cheetahs or other predators or so, but in the wild, cheetahs generally live for up to about 15 to 20 years. 20 years is very, very old, but the average is probably around 15 to 16 years. But this female, just looking at her face and that bit of blackish color coming through on her nose there, makes me think that she's maybe quite old compared to other females that I've seen in the last couple of weeks or so. And she's actually moved quite a long distance from where she had these youngsters so has a massive, massive home range. But for now, while they are settling down and they're not looking to move anytime soon, I think Gerrit and I are going to stick with them and maybe see what they get up to a little bit later on.
Good afternoon and welcome to Tswalu Kalahari. The wind is picking up a little bit. It's still a scorcher here in Tswalu Kalahari. My name is Obakeng. Behind the camera we've got Dave doing a very good job there. This afternoon I was walking about just trying to figure out what happened to what we have with the cheetah from yesterday. It looks like everything has been cleaned up. The hyenas, the jackals have done a very good job here. So we are going to be in search in this area and look to see what we can find. Thank you very much. Guys, enjoy the show. Well, here I am still with Bahati, and her mom has made a breakthrough and she has left Kijana sleeping. I don't know if he will make up, to catch them up. I'm not sure, but looks like Bahati's mom has made a lot of progress in trying to make a distance, and she's heading, I think, towards of her other sisters who could be on this side. This is the same direction I saw her on the first day after discovering Bahati, that she wanted to head this way, but then there was elephants in the bush and she turned around and went back. And this could be, the defining moment if we are going to meet her sister, and maybe her sister will have cubs. I don't know. Usually that's what they do. They synchronize their matings. They can cross circles each other's young. So it could be that this is the time that they want to reunite the cubs. Makes it easier for everybody, to bring the cubs up. And so my aim is to keep following her and find out exactly what's going to happen in the next 1.5 hours. I'm gonna follow her for a little bit.
Welcome back to Djuma, everybody, and a herd of elephants slowly making their way to, I reckon, towards Chelapan, a nice pan in the middle of Djuma. But on the way, we might as well just splash in a little bit of mud. This is one of our roads called Ingwe Alley, which basically means leopard alley, and we had a hyena that was obviously hanging around here somewhere that looked like Ribbon, who ran away because obviously this herd of elephants came charging in towards the mud, and the hyena didn't stick around. But elephants are mud wallowing right on the bottom right of the screen. You can actually see an elephant on its bottom. Another one. Down it goes. Oh, they love it. They love the mud, everybody. I love getting in amongst it. Here, let me just move up to this gap here. I'm just going to quickly move forward slightly. I'm sorry for the movement, but they are so relaxed. I think we can get a better view from the side here. Tell me when. Good. There we go. In the mud. So these mud wallows, these little seasonal pans, are very, very important for many, many animals. And the elephants are now creating what we call erosion. So they're picking up the mud that has been obviously created by the rainfall and covering it on their bodies and then taking it away. So erosion is the movement of sediment from one place to another. And slowly but surely this little puddle will get deeper and deeper and deeper. Wonderful little spa, Mark, isn't it? Now, some people pay a lot of money to get mud baths. You can come out here to Djuma and we'll do it for you for free. The mud bath, it is, of course. Now, first of all, the mud helps to cool them, keeps away potential biting insects, smothers ticks, and to be honest, it looks like a whole lot of fun as well. just going to keep quiet for a moment, let you listen to the slushing. Look at the little nunus. Little ones aren't as good at picking up the mud as the adults, so they just roll in it. And you'll see the adults were in there first with the smallest ones, and the teenage boys have all moved off or hanging around the periphery waiting for their turn. 2 teenage boys gone up ahead to another one because they knew they weren't going to get in here. And one teenage boy just at the back there, top left, he's waiting. And as soon as these ladies and youngsters move out, he's going to go straight in there. Here he comes. There's an order. Oh, it's actually a young female. I wonder if it's the same female a year and a half ago. We had a female that used to hang out with one of the herds who constantly got a hard time. She wasn't allowed to interact with them. Maybe there's an issue with her breeding. Maybe she's not able to contribute to the herd. But there was a female that used to hang out with the herd on Djuma that got a very hard time when it came to drinking or mud wallowing with the herd, and maybe this is her. She doesn't seem to have a calf anywhere nearby where she should, unless she's pregnant. Quite refreshing, Theo. Should we go in there next? And back to very peacefulness. Slowly feeding again. I'm almost certain they're going to head over towards Chelapan, or they might turn left at Vuyatela Dam to go drink some fresh water.
Well, I think Steve's onto something about mud wallowing because it is extremely warm. And given that this cat is sitting beautifully in the shade and we're not, I'm quite jealous of her shade as well as an elephant going for a mud wallow. So I can fully sympathize with that notion. As you can see, she's out, she's turned around, so she kind of changed position and has laid down and found herself the perfect little pillow rest with her head on a branch. And she is as happy and as content as can be. Now, I expect her to probably stay here for most of the afternoon. As it starts to cool down, where there's a dam that's very, very close by that she might head to for a drink. And then from there, I reckon she'll be off on a hunt to go and try and provide for her 2 cubs. As I was saying earlier, her 2 cubs are big now. The male is about the same size as her. The female is still a little bit smaller, but they're eating a lot of food at the moment, and so she's got her hands full to constantly try and provide food for these 2 little ones. And she was with them this morning, which means that she wasn't hunting this morning. And so I think this afternoon she's going to drink and then probably go on a hunt, try and see if she can catch something, and then she'll go back and fetch the cubs and take them to it. They're not very far from where we are right now. As the crow flies, where those cubs were dropped off this morning would be probably about 800, 900 meters. So it's not a long way at all for her to travel. So she might just go that way, but I expect her, particularly with this wind that's blowing, if it carries on into the evening, for her rather to go and try and find food. But for now, it's just about resting, staying out of the heat, being a cat that's covered in fur. This sun is harsh, and so she's going to try and just rather kind of keep her energy for later in the day when it cools off massively this evening. clever cat. But then again, leopards are pretty smart creatures for the most part. They know what's going on. Right, well, we're going to sit here and just see what she gets up to. Hopefully, she'll eventually start to wake up.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala, and here we've got a beautiful pair of African hawk eagles. As we're zooming in, you can see the white that stands out incredibly. The one on the right-hand side, you can see it's got that black on the back, and the one on the left, you can see it's almost got that black streaking in the front of its chest. What I always love about these birds is that you very rarely see them apart. And what's quite amazing is that they are monogamous, so they mate for life. And the male and the female, which we have here, they very rarely spend time apart from each other. They'll be right next to each other, even in flight. They'll spend almost all their time next to each other. I mean, from that vantage point, they'll be looking for small mammals or even smaller birds that are flying past. It's a tree with very, very little foliage on it. And I mean, as you can see, Odie's zooming out. They're quite far away, which gives us a great opportunity not to spook them and chase them away, which I wouldn't want to do at all. See, there are a couple of drongos that flew by. You'll often try and see those drongos and the smaller birds chasing them away. But in the heat of the day, I think they're also just taking it easy, waiting to see if maybe an opportunity comes past before they head out later this evening. You'll see these two will also have a nest, a platform nest that'll be up in the top of a tree. They'll both look after the chicks incredibly well, very rarely separating for any periods of time. Their colouring is magnificent, the contrast of the black and the white and the streaking, a very easy bird to identify because of the colouring, the black and the white, and also with them spending all their time next to each other. They're hanging around in a terminalia thicket, a beautiful terminalia thicket at the back there. Silver cluster leaves, as people call them as well. So I'm going to keep going down this road shortly, see what else we can find.
As you're coming to us now, this female cheetah has just sat up, and we were just commenting, Garrett and I, that the impalas have almost moved off completely, so I think she was waiting for the whole area to settle down. But there's quite a bit of a wind blowing at the moment. I'm sure you can see the grass moving, but also hear the wind in the microphone. So she's been twitching her ears and looking around a lot more now, because this wind is nice and cool, but also she has to make sure she's looking around her now, so she can't just rely on a sense of smell and hearing, but more on her eyesight. Okay, there's a bit of grooming happening there. So let's see what happens after a bit of grooming. I think it might just be an insect or so that's been biting her there. So she's just grooming with. Let's see, she's licking her lips off. Might give a bit of a yawn. It's almost like she's aiming to yawn. So I think she might be getting ready to get a move on. So she keeps on licking her lips. So just waiting for that yawn to happen. often with the cheetahs I've seen, and when they start licking their lips a little bit like that, and just after a bit of grooming, if she starts yawning or so, then she might start to want to get up and move, but let's keep a lookout. Big Money, you're asking the black lines below the eyes, if it's there to protect the eyes. I think it's more to help with their vision during the day, as it pulls the light away from the eyes, and the color black attracts light, and it takes away the glare so that they can see a little bit further during the day, and there's not too much of glare in their eyes from the sun. So in a way it does protect their eyes a little bit, but I think it helps more for them to see a bit better and further during the day than anything else. Oh, she's actually falling asleep again. Interesting how she was licking her lips the whole time earlier, and now I'm just closing her eyes again. I think she was just sitting up earlier, maybe just to keep an eye out around her and settling down again. Just opening her eyes with the two youngsters falling asleep next to her. You can see who's got the most experience, and she's obviously a very protective mother, trying to keep an eye out around them, making sure that there's nothing creeping up on them. She's just turning her head, so I wonder if the wind is actually blowing from the direction of where the impalas went to. So I wonder if she can still smell them, and there's maybe some scent being blown towards her. Because every time the wind just starts blowing, she opens her eyes, but like I said, it might just be to keep an eye out around her as well. Also, you're asking if their eyesight is exceptionally good. I guess it's relative to us. Their eyesight is exceptional, yes, and even compared to other cats, I think, because they have those black stripes on their tear marks on their faces. This female is obviously very well adapted to see as far as possible during the day. But it's difficult to see now with the eyes closed also, but when she opens her eyes, if you have a look at the features of her head, her eyes are quite big for how big her head is. So definitely the sense that she relies on the most would be her eyesight. See how short that muzzle is, and the ears are just surrounded. There you can see, look at her eyes, how big they are. So she's obviously got very good sense of smell and hearing, but the eyesight of cheetahs are the one that they rely on the absolute most. Breathing quite heavily, trying to cool herself down, but I think we are gonna stick around for now while these cheetahs are down and out, and then wait and see if they become a little bit more active a little bit later on.
Welcome back, everybody. We've caught up with our herd of elephants, and the big bull has caught up with them too. Just going to be quiet and allow you to listen to all of this. Been very relaxed. And now that the bull's in the mix, there's a slight change in their behavior. Just look at the size of him. See, the lady urinated there, so he's busy smelling it now. There we go, to the roof of the mouth where the organ of Jacobson is. The roof of an elephant's mouth, probably about the size of the tips of each of my fingers. There's two little holes right on the top. And when he sniffs, he puts it up there. That's why when you see an elephant lifting its trunk to its mouth, seemingly you're not quite sure what they're doing. That is what they're doing. It's not that he's sniffing it like you would with your nose. It's going into the organ of Jacobson, which is in the roof of the mouth, which indicates all sorts of chemicals and pheromones. Oh, he's going to come and show us how big he is. You're magnificent. Are you going to climb over that stick? Okay, so once again, he's checked out two females and seemingly no alarm bells, or should I say, no excitement has been generated. But we're going to try to stay with our herd. They are slowly moving now, most likely to Treehouse Dam or Twin Dams. It's uncertain. But I'm just going to turn around because our bull is going to go check one of the other ladies up ahead. Or should I say behind us? And that's going to be in the road, so that could be, oopsie, my aerial is going to get caught in the tree. Oh, you can smell him. He is in must. Not very strongly, though. There we go. Theo, you got him? Just straighten up. Victor, yes, many animals have got the Jacobson organ, reptiles as well. Snakes, lizards, elephants. I think the design is very, very similar. It might look quite different. I've never had my hand in the mouth of a rhino. But do you see rhinos lifting their lips up? You see zebras lifting their lips up. You see lions and leopards doing it as well. Obviously, you don't see an elephant. Oh, he's got himself a stick. You don't see elephant lifting their lip because they've got an entire nose hanging down the lip. But it is just in the roof of the mouth. So if they were able to lift their lip, you'd probably see it. But I'm going to spend time with this magnificent fellow and this herd of elephants.
Well, nothing like some elephants playing in a mud wallow. Well, not always things, work out the way you think. I followed Mama Bahati and Bahati, and they went into the bushes behind me, went around to see if they would come out the other side. I'm waiting here. Hopefully they will come, this side so I can follow them, continue to follow them and see where they take me or if they reveal where the rest of the pride is. But all in all, I have this huge herd of buffalo ahead of me, quite a distance away, and looks like they have been resting, quite some time now. They starting to get up. These are the Cape buffalo, and in the Mara we have no shortage of them. I'm hoping that Mama Bahati doesn't come out this way because these guys are eternal enemies with the buffalo. And so if they see her, it might be not very good for her. She's also very experienced. I'm sure if she does see them, she'll try and sneak away as quickly as possible before they detect him. Yeah, Cape buffaloes are grazers, and where they are, there is what they eat, a lot of it. And it looks like they were very busy early morning because they normally rest. They don't rest without having filled up their large intestine so that they can sit down and ruminate just like our domestic cows. This is an animal that is doing very well here in the Mara. Population of them is increasing, and so we have no issue with their numbers. You know, every year we do see quite a lot of calves, which is very, very good.
Welcome back to andBeyond and Ngala. Now, something that I had to stop at, just because they've come out in full force in the past few weeks. They come out in the early raining seasons, are these beautiful orange flowers. Now, I'm not going to pick them because I don't want to disturb them too much, but if you have a close look, what they call them is a lion's eye. Now, what it resembles, apparently, is the orange honeycomb color of that of a lion's eye. And what's quite interesting about these flowers is that during the days, they're out like this, bright and orange. And one of the benefits of being bright and orange like this is they attract butterflies. They rely on butterflies to pollinate them. However, in the evenings, they in fact close up. So in the evenings, if you drove past here, you would see none of them. And there are quite a few of them around here. And you only really see them at this time of the year when the first rains really come. But also why I wanted to stop here, firstly because of the lion's eye and what it assembles, and also what I really want to be looking at this afternoon. I think as it starts to cool down, what I really want to try and do is try and see if we can maybe find some lions. The Birmingham and Pride weren't found this morning, but I've got a good idea of where the tracks were going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on going and try and see if we can't find the Birmingham Pride as it starts to cool down, and maybe they'll treat us to another awesome sighting of them roaring and moving around again. Let's keep going down the road.
Oh no, welcome back. I have to just move here slightly. I'm covered in mud. Oh, little fella. He decided to come into the mud wallow right next to us. He went down on his haunches and gave me a proper little spray. Oh my word. Thanks for that. Oh, did he get on the camera as well? We're going to have to do a lot of wiping indeed. Well, musk bulls typically do this with their trunks. They rest it on their tusks like that. But he's relaxed. His eyes are very soft. He was on the other pan over there, and we moved a bit closer here, and then he moved to this mud wallow. He's been giving us a little bit of an eye, but we're just talking to him gently and saying it's okay. And then he went and kicked mud all over me. So I've got my free little mud bath happening right now. Thank you, big fellow. He is a monster, isn't he? You can see how big his head is. And when they're in musk, they're sort of a little bit irritated with life. You know, their hormones are all over the place, and they don't know what to do with their trunk. So when you see an elephant bull covered in mud, you can't really tell if he's in musk because the temporal glands aren't showing and the urine on the back legs isn't showing. But if he's really unsure of what to do with his trunk, well, then you can be almost certain that he's in musk. And he's now behaving normally. How splendid. Thank you. That mud was actually very cooling. Covered. Environmental disasters. Absolutely blessed we are. I've been reading his behavior since when we first saw him. So, many people talk about musk bulls as being these extremely aggressive animals, and it's not really the case. Obviously, you give them space, and they demand space, and that's important. But if he comes closer to you, that's okay. He's decided to do so. Hello, big fella. See my leg? How fantastic was that? Covered in mud. There's one of the sort of perks of the job, I suppose. We spoke about getting into the mud before, and well, we don't need to now. Now the herd is slowly moving off. They're propping out at Twin Dams now. Either they're going to go to Chillipan, we were there just now, but it looks quite muddy. I don't think they're going to go there to drink. They're going to go down to Twin Dams to drink. Otherwise, they're headed somewhere else. So we're going to follow up on them. Lovely to watch elephants down at a watering hole having a drink. And lovely to be covered in mud by big elephant bulls wallowing. A very special afternoon. Right now, interestingly enough, you see that Sabi has lifted up her head. I think there's another leopard close by because we've got kudu alarm calling just in the direction that she's facing at the moment. I don't know who it is or what's causing any sort of disturbance there, but there's definitely kudu that are shouting. Now, I doubt it's for her. She's quite hidden in the shade. She was lying flat, and those kudu that are shouting are too far for her. So I think maybe there's another leopard around. Now, this morning when we were tracking her, we actually had another leopard's tracks, another female to her in the area. Or be the big male leopard that we see in this area that's very, very shy and very skittish. Either way, there's definitely a disturbance, and that's why she's popped her head up to look and to try and see what's going on. You see she's also just starting to kind of look like she might yawn again. The kudu shouting might be enough to get her to start moving and to go and investigate what's going on there. She'll hopefully not run into a female leopard because she's had an altercation with another female yesterday where she was chasing a rival female. And so you don't really want her to get in a situation where she's fighting with other females, that's for sure. But either way, it's going to be super interesting to see what takes place and whether that other leopard decides to come in this direction or is moving in a completely different direction. We'll just have to wait and see. Absolutely beautiful though, isn't she? Now, she's still staring in the direction of those alarm calls. I think she's going to go and investigate. There's definitely another animal in this area, which is great for the afternoon. Certainly going to make for an interesting day, and I'm hoping that we won't see too much of a negative reaction. Anyway, we're going to follow her. We're going to see what she gets up to. Hopefully, it's going to be an entertaining afternoon.
Well, I haven't gone very far, just changed positions so I can have a better view of the area. I'm much more elevated now, and so I could have a better vision of Mama Bahati when she comes out of that woody area. I'm hoping that she will come not very close to those buffaloes and I can follow her. But otherwise, I'm enjoying to see those buffaloes wake up and head down towards the forest. It can be very, very serious if they come across Bahati and her mom. It's something that I don't wish to happen, but I have just to wait and see. Cape buffaloes, move from one area to the other, and looks like they're going to cross the river also and head out to the other side of the river. And that's where there is more grass and much more open plains, so it is a nicer spot for them to be, maybe for the next coming days. I think that is the mission they have, because they are really, really moving fast. Gremlin Jumbo, do Cape buffaloes migrate? No, they don't migrate. One thing is their herd are not as many to force them to find for, bigger grazing areas. And also, they move from one area to the other, and it's enough within here in the Masai Mara, so they don't migrate. Also, they're too big actually to be moving long distances like the wildebeest, but the main thing is their population hasn't exploded to force them to seek better and larger grazing areas, so they don't migrate, Gremlin, but they do have home ranges that they have to visit every couple of weeks. And all the areas you find them usually are wooded savanna and open savanna. What we have here is open savanna, plenty of grass, and then the wooded savanna, there is kind of different grass that they feed on at different times. So that's where they move from one time to the other. I'm gonna stay here for a little bit longer. It's a beautiful view. I'm gonna leave you to enjoy that, herd of, buffalo heading down.
Wow, what do we have here? It looks like blotches of white things, one would ask. Today I'm going to be giving a bit of a lesson on scatology. And one would ask, what is scatology? Scatology is basically a simple term to say the study of poop. That's basically what it is. And what we are looking at here is an individual that has been coming here regularly, defecating here and leaving. And this individual I speak of would be a brown hyena. Now, one would ask, why a brown hyena? Firstly, looking at the caliber or how thick the scat itself gives it away that it would be a smaller version of the hyenas, which in that sense here is the brown hyena. And what makes it so white is you do find with your hyenas and other predators, the stomach content or the gastric juices of these animals are so acidic that they actually leach out nutrients and minerals out of whatever they eat. And also, because of the acidity, it helps them to actually break down bones, and that's why they can actually chew and break down on bones. And that's why you find these scat actually being as white as what they are when they dry out. But interesting enough, when they are first dropped, they're not white. Sometimes you get a greenish tinge on them, not being as white as that. But furthermore, to even surprise you more, or to even add an element of a wow to it, is that this would be a territorial advertisement. So any other brown hyena coming here would know that they actually are looking at somebody's home or somebody's territory, and they would avoid it. Also, the amount of how much has been defecated here symbolizes how long this individual has actually occupied this territory. But also, another point of interest is not just this would just be waste as what we think it would be waste. We do get things like your leopard tortoise here, which actually this would be a very, very rich, high calcium packed pellet for things like your leopard tortoise, that they would come in an instance like this and actually nibble on these feces, and that helps with actually hardening their shell. And that, the eating of feces, we refer to as coprophagia. So just a little bit about scatology there, and we'll send you over to the next location in Africa.
Right, so you can see Sabi is still just looking and staring in the direction of where these alarm calls are at. I'm pretty sure that these alarm calls are for another female leopard. Like I say, we were following tracks for a female leopard this morning, and she walked over the top of them. They were going in opposite directions, but it's definitely not for her. Where those kudus were shouting is quite a long way from here, and so it could very well be that it's Thandi that's moving around to the north of us. Obviously, they are on fringe territories. They have had a few interactions before these two, which Tswalu has dominated, being the younger, slightly larger leopardess. She completely dominated the last encounter with Thandi, and I wonder how many times they actually have been meeting up of late, or if there's been, kind of just missing each other. But let's see what happens today. The wind is not really blowing the right direction for Tswalu's scent to be drifting northwards. It's kind of coming from the north, so I'm very, very, very curious to see which leopard is north of us. Steve's in the area there trying to see if he can find whoever it is that's causing that whole story at this stage. In for an interesting afternoon. It's been just absolute chaos with leopards. The other bit of kind of cagey news, I suppose, I have about leopards today is that Tingana went straight to where Thandi's cub was last seen a few days ago, so he was milling about there, which is not good news at all. We don't think is the father of that cub, which always means there's a danger to the cub itself. So hopefully Thandi's moved the cub. I mean, there's been no sign of the cub there for 3 days, so hopefully it's been moved. But there's a lot of pressure on these poor females at the moment, not only from the normal predators like hyenas, but from each other. Lots of females in the area, and then we've got all these males that are moving around. And I've mentioned it before, the number of male leopards that's starting to kind of push into this area is big, and what that's causing is the older individuals to go far more nomadic. So they're going into a situation where they are starting to roam bigger areas, come in contact with females that potentially haven't mated with them, that have cubs, and that's always dangerous for your leopard population. It destabilizes everything. So hopefully the likes of Mulawati particularly gets involved soon and starts to, kind of just get rid of these other males. If it is him that's going to be the dominant individual, he needs to kind of stand up and play the role that Tingana did so well for so long, which is just keep other males at bay all the time and allow these females the chance to raise their cubs. If he doesn't do that, then we're going to have a huge amount of problems. These leopardesses are going to struggle over the next little bit if that's the case. And like I say, just in terms of Thandi, Kalamba, Tswalu's territory, which all runs along the Mulawati basically in varying sort of places. The moment you've got Tingana moving around there, you've got Mulawati, Matsweri is a little bit to the north of that. Shamungwe started to come south. We've got Nklangula coming south. So, you've got a lot of male leopards that potentially could be in the area. So it's a lot of work for Mulawati to keep them at bay, and he's going to have to start concentrating more on this northern side than he has been. He seems like he's been kind of dealing with the threat of Hukamuri to the east a lot, and then maybe a little bit kind of patrolling down in the south, judging from the sightings of late. So he's going to need to come up this side and start to just kind of settle things down a little bit for the leopards up this way. She doesn't seem to be too fazed by those alarm calls. She's kind of gone back down. Maybe that's to do with the fact that she potentially thinks that it's maybe the male, or maybe she thinks her cubs are around. I don't know if that's maybe why she's not too worried about it. Peter, how do you tell the difference between a male and a female? Well, it's not always that easy, particularly in a situation where you've got a very young male. So a male leopard that's a year-old or year and a half old will often look very similar to a female from a distance. So the definitive way is to check under the tail. I mean, that's really the best way. So if you see two little golden nuggets, then that is a male. But if you don't, then female. But in terms of adult individuals, so if you're seeing adult leopards, male much, much larger than a female, much bigger shoulder set and head set with a thing called dewlap. So the skin that goes from the chin to the chest that starts to hang. And I'm sure We'll hopefully see a male leopard at some point. We had Tingana this morning, but when you start to see them side by side, you really do realize there's just such a massive difference between the males and females in terms of size and just that head structure. The heads on the males are just so much bigger and bulkier. And that's kind of what we use. But the real definitive way for somebody that hasn't seen a lot of leopards and hasn't got a lot of experience with them in terms of gauging their size is really just to check under the tail and to check for a big dewlap. The females won't have that hanging skin that's kind of below the chin towards the chest area. They have a little bit more kind of a compact neck. So yeah, but it can be tricky. I mean, there's actually, funny enough, there was a test that was put out for a while by a conservation organization that they gave to guides and rangers to test them on male, female, and ages of leopards, and most people do very, very poorly on it. They actually don't do well at all because they confuse particularly young males with the adult females regularly, and ages are also often way out. So it's an interesting thing actually to see how you need to spend a lot of time with leopards over and a long period with them to really start to understand the age and to be able to sex them pretty quickly. But all these yawns are indicative of a cat that's slowly starting to kind of wake up. I know she looks like she's sleepy, but she'll eventually start to get going. All right, well, we'll sit with her and wait. You never know, maybe that other leopard shows up in this direction.
And listen, and we've got a small little family of Swainson's spurfowls over here. You can see their red faces. There's quite a few chicks. Yeah, look at that red face. I think that's one of the parents, in fact, but the rest of them, there's a whole group of them, are younger little chicks. But what also got our attention when we stopped here was probably one of the bigger groups of kudu that I've seen in quite a long time. They're all hanging around here, and all of them are females. I haven't seen one male, not even a young male around here. And you see how the ones on the right-hand side, their heads are down, what looks like in the grass, but it's actually not what they're eating. They should be eating small little shrubs. Let's just quickly make sure I'm talking sense. But they should be eating small little bushes and the fresh leaves of the new shoots that are growing, because they are predominantly browsers. Now, you see how that one's down there behind the bush? And quite interestingly about these kudu as well, just want to try and see one that I can point it out very obviously. The ones on the left-hand side here are right in those bushes and feeding off of the leaves there, and not on the grass in this area. But have a look at this one here. So you can see her huge ears working. They spend a lot of time in these thicker areas, and they rely so much on their hearing to pick up on predators that are coming close. And have a look at that hump, almost like a camel's hump behind its neck there. That is in fact an extension of its shoulder blades, excuse me, which makes them incredibly good jumpers. Now, some farmers in South Africa actually really struggle to keep kudus in, and they don't have to escape anyway, but they can jump incredibly high, about 3 or 4 meters even from a still standing start. Have a look how all of them are moving through here. There are a couple of young ones. Stop, and those ears, radar-like, just moving and moving all the time, listening. You see those stripes as well. I don't know if you can see those stripes so clearly from here, but when they are in the thicker bushes, listening what's around them, those stripes help break up their shape. You can see that hump. It's got quite a lot of hair on the back of that hump as well. Very bushy tails. So that when they're standing in the thick bush and a predator, or we in fact even look at them and you see a couple of them together and you see those stripes, it helps break up the shape and makes it very difficult for predators to pick out an actual individual. And even if a predator does manage to startle them, being such good jumpers, they can even jump right out of the reach of a predator in that initial fright stage. This is definitely one of the bigger groups of females that I've seen in a really long time. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of them altogether. and not one male around. This isn't the breeding season. We've actually just come out of the breeding season where the males will be looking to try and compete with one another and compete for breeding rights with the females. There's even an oxpecker on one on the right-hand side there. But you see, while a few of them, their heads are down feeding, there's always one or two of them with their heads up, making sure that everybody else is safe. Picking off the shoots off of that branch over there. Must be loving all these new shoots. There's even a couple of zebras that have come into the shot in front of us there. Now they'll be feeding on different things. The zebra will be feeding on the grass rather than the trees and the browsing on the shoots. Tail's always going. And once again, they've almost come together. They're not competing for food, and they are helping one another look out for danger. Marie, in this group of 13, are all the kudus different ages? For sure. There'll be older females who will have a lot more experience, and there will be lots of younger females there as well. And those females, the younger ones, will be learning from the older ones, as in what to eat, where to move, and how to really behave. And the little ones will also have a good ear out for danger. They'll know exactly what to listen out for, smell, and look for. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep moving down this road slowly. This is a really good area for cheetah, and I'm going to send you somewhere else to another live location.
Well, thanks, Dan. We had some kudu alarm calling after I got covered in mud. We tried to follow up and find out what was going on, but we didn't have any luck. But I wanted to catch up with our elephants again, because they have been such good value this afternoon. And they're now down in the Mwati. And they're probably going to slowly move along the drainage line down to Twin Dams. Look at that mouthful of grass that little one's got. Very green, tall, juicy grasses down here. One by one, the herd crosses the road. Very special. Hello everybody, welcome again to the show. My name is Steve, joined by Theo, Island Style Camera, and as always, very excited to have you with us. It's a wonderful afternoon out here. It was quite hot earlier, and then I got covered in mud, so feeling quite nice and refreshed now. But we're going to try and get ahead of these eddies again. See if we can... I'll see if we can get another beautiful view. When you find a really relaxed herd of elephant, it is something to just be able to spend the whole afternoon with them. If I can turn in the sand. And that is what we're going to try and do. So where they're going to go drink from this position is anyone's guess.
As you can see, we still haven't moved just yet. She's yawning more and more and more and more, and it's starting to cool down a little bit. There's a bit of kind of wispy cloud that's starting to come through that's just softening the heat a little bit. So I'm sure it's not long for her until she starts to walk. She keeps facing kind of northwards, which is, like I say, where those alarm calls come from. She keeps kind of shooting glances in that direction. So I'm hoping that rather than heading there, she's going to just turn and kind of walk a different way. The last thing we need after yesterday is another sort of traumatic situation with leopards. yesterday was more than enough. For those of you that don't know what happened, Shidulu's small little cub was eaten by a hyena yesterday, which is not a nice thing to see. But I don't know. I mean, we're not 100% sure if she has any other cubs. I mean, we thought we heard another one calling from inside the hole and her responding, but we didn't get a confirmed visual, so we don't know if she's still got any left. But definitely one was taken by hyenas, which is part of the natural world. So, I mean, I said it yesterday, it's definitely something that you can't take out on hyena. It's not that they're doing it maliciously, and it's not that they're ugly animals. They're fulfilling a role, and predation of other predators is something that's regular across the board. So lions do it, leopards do it, hyenas do it, cheetah not so much, but it does happen to all the predators, and leopards are actually responsible for a number of deaths in other predators, from wild dogs to cheetah to even lion cubs to a degree. And so it's not the hyena's fault in any way. It's just, one of those things that happens out here from time to time, and she'll learn from that, which is, I suppose, the only positive you can take out of it, is she'll know that next time maybe there's something else she could do, or she could use a different kind of den. Unfortunately, I think the biggest problem with that whole sighting was the fact that the little one was was so small it didn't really realize the hyena wasn't its mother, and it came out towards the hyena rather than staying in its little hole. So anyway, all right, we'll carry on with Sabui. We're going to hope that she's going to kind of get going shortly. Hopefully she'll even take us back to her two cubs.
Welcome back to Tswalu Kalahari. Just a quick catch-up from this morning's sighting with these lion, the Southern Pride. It looks like two young boys have now just joined us with the females that were here by the dam this morning. Everybody looks happy. The cubs are just playing on the edge of the water there in the shade. One with a stick. It's a very cool place to be at for them right now. A little bit of also grooming on the others there. Under the shade and just on the edge of the water. Obviously the cool breeze coming through from above the water will cool them and will help them keep cool. And that's why they're just sitting there. And also with a wet patch on the edge, using that also as a cooling mechanism. But there seems to be a little bit of a house maintenance here, a bit of growling every now and then. I'm just going to keep quiet so that you guys can listen to it a little bit. And it keeps quiet again. Everybody cleaning themselves. A little bit of grooming there. A little bit of marking. See how she kicks back as she's also urinating there. Very, very beautiful. Camo, it is a very big pride. You do get prides bigger than this, but this is pretty a decent size pride. Bearing in mind also that the two dominant males of the pride are actually absent, so you still have two more members that are not here. So it is indeed a very big pride. Also interesting enough that you mentioned that on the pride. There is a female here that was not here also this morning that is also lactating, and her cubs are actually younger than the cubs that we are seeing right now. So it is going to be a very big pride. And obviously having such a big pride would then start requiring a little bit of more experienced hunters and in order for them to start taking bigger prey. So that's going to be an interesting fold out to see how this happens. Quite a big ask for the pride. Hyena, when do lions learn to scent, Mark? Now, if you look at the demographics of lions, both male and female would be territorial. So it will come at different times for the different sexes. Whereas if you look at the females half the time are accepted into the pride and can stay with their mothers from birth until into adulthood. So they would start marking at a relatively younger age than as males would do, whereas young males from the age of about 2.5, which is the age of these two males in this pride, is the age where actually they have to be submissive and not show any sign of aggression or dominance. Otherwise, the two dominant males of the pride would see that as a challenge. So what normally would happen is at this age, they would actually start getting kicked out and be nomadic males. And from then they would start scavenging from other prides or even other predators. And in the period that they are nomadic, which is about the 2.5 year mark, that's where they will start learning how to actually scent mark, how to roar properly, to give a proper roar. But if they do it too often also, it calls too much attention on them, and they don't want that. So it's a very fine brink for the males and makes it very, very tough for them to actually crack that code and get life going from that age. And once they start becoming a little bit older, reaching towards their prime at about 4, maybe 5 years, then they can actually do it without the fear, knowing that they can actually back their own selves in terms of fighting, marking, and so on. So those are the two scenarios you would get with lions and how they would go about in their marking and learning how to mark and being territorial. Two cubs going at each other there. Very good thing, because one day that will teach them hand-eye coordination. Very important for fighting, very important for hunting. So it's a good skill that they're learning. It's not just being playful, it's actually developing a skill. Elsa, are the two young males born from one of the females in this pride? Yes, they have been. They're actually the previous litter from the matriarch of this pride. And now she's got the litter that you're seeing being played for there. So it would be their brothers and sisters that are born now. So this is the time where they should start heading out and keep on a constant being very submissive. They'll be submissive to the females because at times the females wouldn't also want them too close to the cubs, because sometimes when they play with the cubs, they actually hit them in attempts of playing and not actually trying to injure them or kill them. And you'll see the females would be still a little bit protective over the younger cubs. Gremlins, are these lions waiting for other animals to come and drink? That could be a possibility. They're always optimistic about how they position themselves. Obviously, one of the biggest things right now for them is shade and cover, but they are a little bit exposed. So if anything comes from behind where they are, yes, they've got a better opportunity in going for that. But if anything comes from our left here, it's a little bit too exposed. But they are very opportunistic hunters, so they will take that opportunity, and hence they come towards watering holes and spend the rest of the day around areas like that. Somebody just got a little bit of a discipline there in the background. Exactly what I was talking about just now. Gotta be careful, son. Big yawn. Cubs still at it. Still grooming there. Very interesting. Look at how the markings stand out with those cubs. The black behind the ears. And one would actually wonder, why would an animal like that have such markings behind the ear? It's very, very simple. I mean, the whole body just blends in with the fawn grass and so on, and the tip of the tail also would be black. So that just helps for them to follow each other and also to follow mom or to follow the rest of the pride as they go along the grasses. And it also makes communication much easier, because if they follow him from behind, that would be the point of contrast. So how they flick the ears, flick the tail, wave the tail, and so on would actually be communication for them. think we are gonna maybe leave these guys and continue further on with the hopes of finding the dominant males. I hope we are lucky as this morning. We're gonna continue, and as the time where we continue, we're gonna be sending you off to the next beautiful location.
Of the Mara, clouds, trees and grass, and always it comes with something. But the reason we are focused on that area is that we found Mama Bahati and Bahati. They came across and she was right there, and then she turned to the left onto that bush and went down. I'm thinking that she's going to hide the cub and then come out for some hunting, because over here to our right you will see there is a zebra, wildebeest, and that could be their only chance to get a quick meal, because they're very spread out and it's easy for her to get something. I'm not 100% what she's doing down in that bush. I might have to drive closer, but I think she's hiding Bahati to come for a meal. She has managed to outmaneuver the male and hide, and so she's in a very safe area, and the only thing that remains now is for her to get a meal, and then Bahati will be safer. The temperatures have dropped quite rapidly, and right now I think we're below about 20 Celsius, not Fahrenheit, and so we're quite very, very okay, and I don't think there's any danger with her hiding the cub there and then coming out to go and do some hunting. I think the best thing to do for me is to go back there and see if I can find her, because there is a track that goes very close to there, and then I can follow her, because that was my main aim this afternoon. Yeah, these are the rangers, the guys who take care of this pack. So they're always good people to come across. Yes, it's always nice to see them. I'm coming to see what's happening around. Yes, this place, I turn around. It would be nice to see her come out and go do some hunting, because she definitely doesn't have any more milk to provide for Bahati, and if they don't get a chance to eat today, it might take a little bit longer. The animals are very close, and I'm hoping she can get a meal. Jumbo, Mrs. Lapwing. Where is the rest of her pride? They were back there before she broke away to try and go hide Bahati. And all those females that were together were not lactating, and they didn't have any cubs. So definitely she was walking to her other sister, who's got some cubs. I think behind us, I was there to look for her, but I didn't find her. I think that's where she is going. So they're spread out within their territory. There is a few, I believe, who've got some cubs. It's only that they haven't been revealed to us. Remember, even Bahati, we didn't know he was born. We only saw him when he's heading to around 7 weeks now, when he was 6 weeks. So same thing might happen. She's got cubs, and it's going to be time for Mama Bahati to take us to where her sister is with the cubs. She went in here. I don't know if it's going to be easy to find her. She went off to my left. This is where it becomes really difficult for us when you can't go off-road, and she's somewhere around here. Yeah, she went very deep inside. Sometimes you just have to be patient and park and sit for a little bit. Sometimes we have time, sometimes we don't. But I'm hoping that she can come out somewhere here. She's definitely down here. There's a very big, drop there. So I don't think she's gonna go across. Well, let's go to another live safari vehicle while I look for her.
We came into an area to see if we can find some lions, and then we looped around, and far in the distance we just saw these white rhinos. Look, it looks like a big bull here. That's in screen at the moment, and if you look just behind him, there's just the back of a female sticking out, and actually quite a small calf as well. But look how interesting the different colors are between the rhinos. This bull is quite dark and grey, like he's been hanging around an area where the soil hasn't got much color. But look at the coloration of the female and the youngster. Very, very red. So there's a section of area on Phinda that's got a lot of iron in the soil, and it makes the soil red like rust from the oxidation of the iron. And that's why they are that color, maybe sleeping in the dust there and mud wallowing. But looks like they are slowly going down into like a little bit of a dip there into a dry riverbed. I think we might lose view of them just in a bit, but we're actually standing close to a big open clearing because that's been burnt. There was a wildfire that came through here just before the rains, and that's why these animals are here, just to feed on all the nice green grass in this particular area. Look at there's actually a bird. Oh, just flew down now. Down onto the ground there's a Cape glossy starling. Beautiful bluebird. See if we can get a view. Oh, it's just picking up some insects there. And it's actually looking for something underneath the grass there, or it's like trying to kill something there. It's got an insect. Look at that beautiful orange eye that it's got as well. Yeah, we've lost view of those rhinos. Look at that. See how he's picking at that little insect on the ground, trying to kill it. You can hear another one call just around the corner here. Maybe same one from the same flock. But for now I think we are going to leave this starling and see if we can loop around this area and see if we can maybe track those lions down.
Well, the Cape glossy starling is making a kill, and we've got some red-billed buffalo weavers making a nest, which I think is a much nicer way of making something. Unless you're hungry, I suppose, if you're a flesh or insect-eating bird. But these ones have made a very safe home on that island over there, safe from almost all the predators, except for the other birds, I suppose. Hi, I'm Mike. Behind the camera is Seb, and you've joined us at Eco-Training Pridelands Conservancy, where we are sitting at Leopard Dam, just waiting on this very hot afternoon to see if anything comes up to have a swim or a drink or a little paddle in the waterhole. But in the meantime, we're watching these buffalo weavers that are really, really quite beautiful, doing their thing over there. It's very active at the moment. Lots of twittering, lots of jumping around. We see them coming and going every minute or so. Another one arrives with a bit of stick, and then they fly off again. So that's I think a fairly new nest. I've never really noticed it before. There's a dead tree just to the right, which is, full of old nests, which, were being used at one stage. But I don't know why, for some reason, there seems to be no activity on these particular nests. Perhaps they're being inhabited by, other birds, or perhaps they're being full of parasites. I don't know why they're not using this particular nest, which looks... Oh, did I just see one fly out of it? Perhaps I've been blind this whole time. Anyway, it's certainly not as busy as the one being built. So perhaps there's just a new family that's moved in. Oh, the mystery of it all just is driving me crazy. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what else happens. So they've actually got a really good spot, though. As I said, it's on this little Tambuti island, and, they've built this thing. It's very messy at the moment and not, waterproofed at all or anything like that. But as it gets bigger and thicker and they add more sticks to it, what they'll do is the males create lots of different holes, and the males will have multiple holes, and the females will then go inside and lay their eggs, and most likely be the ones that bring the nesting material that makes it soft and fairly insulated, and they'll put leaves and other things in the roof of it to try and make it a bit waterproof. And they might even, actually, you can look at that one right now, is busy weaving. They don't call them weavers for nothing, so it's quite amazing. Most of the weavers that we know use grasses to weave their little basket nests. And this one is actually using sticks, the red-billed buffalo weaver. And it's amazing how they can manipulate those, quite thick twigs. Look at it, it's really trying to bend that twig and then put it in the right spot. How do they even begin? That's architecture at its finest. It looks messy to us, but to the bird, it's probably got a very specific form and function. I just think it's very interesting how they can build something with nothing but a beak and a few clawed feet. Amazing.
Just as we were about to leave, something just happened here. It sounded like hoofs that were coming closer to the water. We didn't see anything, though. But the attention just changed here. Listen to that. Listen to that. Obviously, these youngsters have not developed a very thorough larynx, and hence they sound the way they sound.
Well, we are with Sabui at the moment, and she is moving now. Looks like she's now starting to hunt. As I was saying earlier, she's not going to be taking too long to get up, and sure enough, but interestingly, she hasn't gone towards where those alarm calls are. She's headed the exact opposite direction, pretty much straight back to where the core of her territory will be, which will be to the south of us. So she's kind of moving in that direction. Still moving away from the cubs, though. She's heading more kind of west away from them. So I'm pretty sure she's on a little hunting mission rather than a territorial patrol at the moment, and she's using elevated areas like these termite mounds just to get up and to have a little look, particularly in these kind of thicker blocks that we're in. It's a perfect place for her to do A, spot impalas, B, spot something like a little duiker that she can then start to work out ways and means to approach them. So she's kind of moving about, which is what we kind of wanted. We wanted to see her up and moving. But she's kind of not going to be with us for much longer, I'm afraid, in terms of where she's heading. She will cross our boundary to the south pretty quickly if she keeps up the pace that she's had so far. Oh, little shake. I'm sure she's got an itch. You'll see the leopards and lions and various animals are going to be doing a lot more scratching like this, particularly around those neck areas. A lot of ticks are going to start to be present with this long grass and rain. And so I'm pretty sure we're going to start to see a lot more of that. All right, let me just shoot forward quickly and so we can get a better view of her as she kind of goes forward. She's going to come into a nice little open ring fairly shortly, which good for us. I've just got to get to it, that's all. And that's always a trick when you're in these kind of areas. So we gotta just try and duck that one. Make sure we get through there. Alrighty, so this is the clear part I'm talking about. She's just on my right. Alright, she's right here on my right hand side, and she's gonna for us, which will be perfect right over here. She's just there, like I say, and you can see what she's doing. You see how she's looking in these little thickets. Also, this time of the year, we're about to start heading into Impala lambing season, and that means that Impala lambing season is when we start to see them trying to find lambs based off places where they've been given birth. So they sniff out, they find a little baby impala, sometimes just lying there, hasn't quite gotten its legs yet to walk, and they grab them. So you'll see a lot of that from leopards in the next few months, is just basically looking into these little thickets. All right, we're going to try to keep up with her. Hopefully we will keep view before she crosses over. I'm sure she's going to take us on a little walk before then.
Welcome back to andBeyond and Ngala. Now I've popped to a watering hole in the hope of finding some cool birds, and we found a lone white-faced whistling duck. You can see it just moving along the shore there, popping its head in every now and then. You see how it pops it in, gobbles up with its beak. It's particularly looking for aquatic vegetation, and insects, anything that it can find over there. They're quite beautiful ducks. How's the color on its face? White-faced, and it's got the most beautiful noise as well. You normally see it, it's quite a gregarious bird and social bird normally, and you normally see them in these flocks making the most beautiful whistling noises. And quite another interesting bird that we managed to find sitting at the top of a tree on the far side of the watering hole. Let me just give Odie a moment to zoom out and zoom in again. Right in that tree is an African spoonbill. Now they also do exactly what that white-faced whistling duck was doing on the outsides, walks on the perimeters of the watering holes, particularly looking for small fish. And it has this strange shape of like a spoon at the end of its beak, and it moves its head left to right, left to right, left to right. And if you have a look in that tree as well, if you see all those sticks to the left of that spoonbill, those are red-billed buffalo weaver nests. Now, it always amazes me. I always ask myself, how does the first stick get put up in a tree like that when making a nest? And how does it not just fall out? And you'll see there'll be lots of birds. They're communal nesters, and they'll all build these nests together, and they'll all live in them together. Now, it's quite an interesting landmark, these red-billed buffalo weavers. When we are walking or driving around, and if you ever get a bit lost, like this morning, the sun, it was overcast and you couldn't see the sun, and if you're struggling to find direction out here, those red-billed buffalo weaver nests can be a really good indicator of direction. They normally build their nests on the northwestern side of trees, and this is a perfect example of that. Those nests are on the northwestern side of that tree, and the reason being that in wintertime, when it's a bit cooler, the sun sets in the west, and it'll be placed like that so that when the sun is setting in wintertime, it'll catch the last remains of the heat to keep them warm just as it goes into the evening. I'm wondering if there are any that are going to be flying in and out of there. They've also got an interesting noise, and they're often quite loud because there's so many of them that fly around. I'm surprised to see that spoonbill up in the tree as well. I would expect it to have been down in the water looking for food, because they try and use the daylight hours to do so because they're quite vulnerable in the evenings. This is a perfect watering hole for the white-faced twisting duck, the spoonbill as well. You can hear the hippos as well, I'm sure, in the middle of the watering hole. I haven't seen a crocodile in this watering hole for several years now, actually, and it's a lot safer for these spoonbills, the white-faced whistling ducks, the lapwings, all of those birds that hang around on the edge. It's much safer for them in here with no croc. And I mean, you saw this morning, we did see 2 crocs, but it was in a different watering hole. Those crocs will be sitting right on the edge of the water, waiting for maybe a white-faced whistling duck to get a bit closer, or an African spoonbill. I mean, they do eat a lot of fish as well, but when they get the chance to take a bird, they'll definitely grab that opportunity with both hands, or both jaws, let's rather say that. Interesting to see, you often see oxpeckers on the back of those hippos. It's also getting to that time of the day when they're going to start moving around and waking up. I'm sure these hippos are going to start yawning soon and moving around, but I'm not going to hang around here for too much longer. I'm going to try and see if we can maybe try and find the Birmingham Pride this evening. Didn't seem like they made a kill last night, so I'm sure they're going to be up and moving around, and that'll give us a good chance to find them.
So we've figured out why these other red-billed buffalo weavers' nests aren't as busy, with the buffalo weavers anyway. It's because there are some lesser masked weavers that are taking up residence right at the base of them. So it's not really easy to see, but right there in the middle of the screen, there are 3 green patches amongst the dry sticks of the buffalo weavers' nests. The 2 on the left green patches seem to be fully built already, and there's 1 circular green patch on the right, which is a beginning of a nest from the lesser masked weaver. So that's what it is. I just noticed it now. As we were sitting here, a red-billed buffalo weaver chased a very bright yellow bird, and then I realized what it was. So that's why this thing is not being used as much. Too much conflict, too much dispute. It's very interesting because the buffalo weavers are far larger than the lesser masked weavers. So I'm interested to see why they wouldn't, be just chasing them off. But maybe there's more of them. I'm not sure. We also just now gandered some geese. In fact, I can see one little gosling right in the middle of the waterhole. We'll go and look at it in a moment. Oh, there's a weaver just arrived. Phenak, I totally agree with you. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal how these little tiny birds can build these incredibly complex structures that are sometimes almost completely waterproof, really safe from predators. So you can see this bird is still weaving its nest. Oh, there's a second one. Look at that. See how they just pop their head in there, and now they're busy trying to make the inside more waterproof, maybe. I'm not really sure. But they certainly, as you watch them there, we're a bit far away, so we can't get any closer. But they're literally so dexterous. Literally, it's like watching someone with a needle and thread, how they put the needle through those little gaps and they thread it around. And it's, for me, it's something that just boggles my mind, because, I mean, even with my dexterous hands, or human beings with our dexterous hands and fingers, most of us would be absolutely appalling at trying to sew anything together. I've tried to stitch up multiple pairs of shirts and shorts and shoes and all sorts of things, and it just never works out. But these birds construct dozens of nests every season, and they're perfect every single time. Well, I mean, I guess practice makes perfect. I don't know, Seb, do you think you'll be able to spot those goslings from where you are?
Where are they?
So we've got a couple of goslings that are some geese. So you see where that stick is in the water there? So keep going a bit more to the left. Keep going, there they're coming. See, so what's interesting, I think you and Taylor saw these geese a while back, and there were 5 little goslings, little chicks, and now there are only 3. So 2 of them have definitely been picked off at some point, and we know there's a Wahlberg's eagle's nest really close to the dam. So that's why the parents and these little goslings are constantly moving around. Every time we try and reposition to get a view of them, they seem to move away from us. And I think it's because they've lost 2 of their chicks now, so they're being very, very protective. And you see the one parent is right next to it, just sheltering there. if there's any sort of danger that comes, the adult Egyptian goose will open its wings and start flapping and beating them to try and chase anything off. It's quite amazing to watch.
Welcome back to Djuma, everybody, where we moved on from our elephants as we went in search again of whatever leopard it was that caused those kudus to alarm. And we've not found the leopard, but we've moved into the area of the nest of the spotted eagle owl. How wonderful it is to spend time with Mr. and Mrs. Wig. We've got Mrs. Wig here on the nest, and I haven't yet seen him. He's around somewhere, doing his thing. And when I say doing his thing, I mean he is chilling in the tree. So these large owls are potential predators for the likes of those goslings. But Egyptian geese parents seem to be very vigilant. They do seem to do quite well. They're a very common and successful bird now across the African continent. And so too is this owl. There's very little known about the success of these animals to adulthood. Obviously they're doing quite well. There hasn't been too much effect on their range due to the fact that they do very well in urbanized areas. But out of about 25 nests that they did research on, there was 100% fledgling success rate. Such a varied sort of amount, varied types of nests, areas, places, and they do very well in, as I said, the domestic environment, in plant boxes on people's roofs, in the gardens. And the parents are quite vigilant and quite protective of their chicks. I don't know too many predators that try and mess with this owl. Obviously, the giant eagle owl is one. Monitor lizards potentially, but they could fall victim to the talons of these birds. Tom, they do have incredible feathers, don't they? Such beautiful birds. Such camouflage. You might be able to hear the Wahlberg's eagle calling behind it. So interesting that this is the second year in a row that I know of that the eagle owls have nested right here. I don't know if it's on the exact same spot, but it's in the same area. And then the Wahlberg's eagle nest is up in the big leadwood behind us. So they seem to coexist quite close to each other. Not too much sort of animosity, although they've got a very big sort of overlap when it comes to prey and diet. Just two predators sharing the same hood. Zoga, they'll eat pretty much any rodent. They'll even eat insects, termites and alates on the floor, lizards, possibly even some snakes, birds, small birds, decent-sized birds as well, up to sort of heron size. So they are very, very incredible hunters. But varied diet, very, very varied diet, which allows them to spend as much time out here as they do. They don't have a very specific prey base. And rodents, obviously, we've got many different types of rodents in these areas. I suppose squirrels as well. Many, many small mammals. So all the mice, rats, shrews. I posted a picture a little while ago on my Instagram of one pellet that I dissected, and it had at least 6 jawbones in there of very small mammals, very, very small rodent-like mammals. I couldn't really tell. I'm not an expert in those small mammal sort of faces, but I'm sure people who are experts would be able to tell exactly what is in the diet, and that is how they actually work out the diet of these animals. It's not that they're able to sort of watch them hunt everything, but through fecal analysis and through pellet analysis. We had scorpion pincers and stings in there, lots of fluff, bones, leg bones and rib bones. Silent nocturnal predators. Perfectly adapted. Luke, it's anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks now that the egg is going to hatch. I believe when I was told the other day, about a week ago, I was told that she'd been sitting on it, that we noticed, for about 2 weeks. So it's 3 weeks or so now, and on average it's about 30 days incubation. So I won't be here for that unless it's earlier. Hopefully it's earlier. Hopefully it happens on Saturday. Saturday will be the last day. We'll also see some little fledglings here on the nest. That would be special. But I think it might be a little bit later. So James will be here for that, and I'm sure he'll be very excited. Okay, well, we're going to go try our luck a little bit more in the area and see if Thandi is indeed around the corner.
Yes, I have left Mama Bahati to do her own thing, and I've come towards the marsh, and here I have the tall one, the tallest of them all here and everywhere in Africa, and that is a female. He's in company of another journey or a tower. They're all headed out into the plains. I think it's a wise idea. There is more bushes and trees towards the plain. This is the Masai giraffe, the only one that we get in the Masai Mara. To identify them from many other, these guys have got this jigsaw kind of pattern, jigsaw puzzle or patches, and then from the ankles downwards they're really wide. This looks like they're wearing little socks. Yeah, and looks like they're really heading out somewhere, because there is a good number of them and they're all scattered everywhere. This is a defense mechanism, because when they're scattered like this, means they can cover a huge area and see, and actually they can see a better area than being all by themselves. Yeah, over there we have one tusk. He's a bull that has been roaming around this area. I was with him yesterday morning. I don't know what he's up to right now, but he's in must, and he's making his rounds, looking for females. He's one of our biggest tuskers around. Doesn't have very impressive tusks, but you can see his size, very, very, very big. I don't know how he lost that tusk, but maybe through impact. Oh, it looks like they're going to collide, but it's only what you see from our perspective. They're quite a distance apart. Maybe it could have been the impact when they hit one another during fighting and it broke off. It does happen, but it's still quite okay with another one. But it decreases the chances of him getting a chance to mate, unless where he goes, everybody has got one tusk. If they've got two, oh, what happened there, giraffe? It means that, he's going to not have a chance. Usually they will walk up to around, 5 kilometers in a day looking for females in season around here, the Mara. And, females do communicate, but by sending very low frequencies that we can't hear, to say, hey, I'm available. And you'll always see different bulls heading into that direction, and you wonder why, but they have sent a text message, elephant style, so that they can find one another. At this stage, he's usually very, very aggressive, very unpredictable, and it's an animal that you have to be very careful not to be really, really close to him. I'm going to turn the vehicle slightly so we can enjoy him a little bit more. The angle is very tight, but there he is. He's continuing with his pace. You can tell definitely he's not feeding. he's got something else in his mind. Looking at him, I'll give him a good 4 tons, and it is evident if you look on his forehead. Next time I'm with females, try and look at that, and you see the size of the head and also the rounded forehead. Is very typical of male elephant. During this time, dear watcher, very good question, thank you. Can an elephant lose a tusk from infection? From my side, I would say no, because I've never seen one lose its tusk from infection, and I would be very interested to find out what kind of bacteria can affect, the tusk. So I would say no, they never lose them. Mostly they lose them while digging for minerals in the soil, debarking very thick, barked trees, and also digging the soils for minerals. Those are the 3 main causes of them to lose tusks. We're going to look at the giraffes once more. They're out there, very many of them. Very spread out. It's a huge area, so they've covered the whole area, and means that they're very safe from many predators because they can see quite far. The Masai giraffe are making a very good comeback, but remember, they are still very threatened, and then one of the main threats is habitat loss and poaching. Habitat loss, it means that the population of humans has increased within, the parks, and by cutting down trees to make houses, firewood, and also other construction, the habitat is being lost, so there's nothing much for them to feed. Also, bushmeat trade closer to game reserves and parks is another, effect facing them. But in protected areas like this, they are making a comeback. There's still under 100,000 left in the whole world, so it is a very serious threat. Rachel, do giraffes vocalize? Yes, they do vocalize, but it is very, very, very rare. They have a vocal cord, so they are able to make sounds. I understand they can bleat, but very few people have heard them do so. I think their height gives them an advantage to communicate using body language instead of vocalizing. So, if a giraffe that's really interesting, how she can lift her leg and scratch it. She's got an itch under the hoof. So the height, it's a very good advantage because they can see far, and there is a posture that a giraffe can portray, which can send a signal and a message to everybody around that all is not well, and you always see the reaction being taken very seriously by other animals, including their fellow giraffes. So they do have a vocal cord. They can vocalize, but very seldom heard. I think I've heard it once in many, many years of living here in the bush. Yeah, amazing how she can bend her long neck backwards to scratch almost the shoulder blade. Yeah, she's got lots of itch, this one. Although giraffes have got some of the very longest, necks, if you compare the height of the neck to reach down, when they need to reach down, it's actually very, very short. Well, I'm gonna leave you to enjoy that beautiful scene that we have set for you there, or nature has set for you there, and find out what's happening in another live location.
Some zebra there. Welcome back to Tswalu Kalahari. Look at that. Your virtual zebra, or your plain zebra as some would refer to it. Look at that blending. Just beautiful colorations there, blending in. Black and white. Are they white with black stripes or black with white stripes? Is a question I once got. I couldn't answer that. Giving us the bum there. Come on, guys, don't go. Getting further and further.
Well, they're still heading on with their mission. My giraffes looks like they are on a mission because nobody's eating and they're just heading out as far as possible. It is that moment when no predators come out to look for prey, but here there's no predators, it's just the giraffes and a very beautiful scene of the Olololo escarpment at the back there. See how quickly they can disappear in the bushes. I'll leave you to have a quiet moment and see them disappear into those bushes. Leah, Jumbo, are giraffes territorial? They're not territorial, but they have a home range, which is much larger than a territory. They can roam freely for a very long area. And that's what they have. They don't have a territory, they have a home range they will stick to. And here in the Mara, because the territories are well defined by the National Reserve and also the Triangle, they stick around there. Also, areas with a lot of trees are favored more, and so you can go to areas where there's no trees, where they're not there, and so the home range usually ranges between where there is enough woodland. Leah, and here in the Mara, as you can see, and always you've seen that we've shown you a few giraffes. They have found a very safe haven, because over here there is almost zero poaching, and so the numbers are coming back very fast. Usually you look at them and you think they are walking slow motion, but this is an animal that walks really, really fast. You know, a few minutes ago I was with them here, and now they're almost, 1 kilometer away. That's how fast they move. And over there they've already arrived, I think, to their destination where they wanted to feed, and we are doing that. I think it's time for me to move further up and see what else is up there, because there is a big herd of elephants I see, and it's coming out of the bushes. I don't know if I'll be able to get there, but it's in a very nice place further up here. Well, I'm gonna head there. Yeah, let's take you to another live location.
Okay, and what we have here is a really nice implausibility of wildebeest. And what beautiful lighting, firstly, let's just say that. I mean, the lighting is absolutely amazing. And that one that's second at the back now, can you see how big her tummy is? She looks like she is very pregnant, and she'll be giving birth in the next few months, maybe come December time. And this will be majority a group of females. There might be a few young males in here. And the females are not territorial. They are pretty nomadic, and they'll kind of just move between males' territories. You often find males on their own, and they will have these territories, and the biggest and the strongest ones will have really good territories, in which case the females will spend a lot more time in there. And what determines a good territory is good feeding areas like this, nice and open. They're quite fussy with the type of grass that they feed on. And the males will in fact try and herd the wildebeest to keep them in their territory. Have a look how they're running around. See if they're going to follow. This would be a perfect area for them to sleep as well. Now, an interesting little tie as well. This is the last area where the tracks of the Pride, and I would assume them to be the Birmingham Pride, but assumptions can never be really made true out here unless you find them at the end. So I'm hanging around here to try and see if we can find the Birmingham Pride. But now, I don't know if you remember the other morning, we had an incredible sighting of the Birmingham Pride. They were here with the sun rising right behind them. And if you have a look at this stick, I don't know if you guys remember, this broken stick here was broken by a few members of the Birmingham Pride. And the young female broke it off, and then her brother got a little bit jealous about her playing with the stick and came and played with it, and they were both climbing all over it. So this is really an area that they've been hanging around in, and one of the reasons they have been hanging around in here and what would have potentially brought them here is the wildebeest that are moving around. This is a really good food area, and the lions will know these open areas are really good for wildebeest. And the male in this area will be, I haven't seen him just yet, he may be on our left-hand side or maybe a bit further behind them. He has got a really good territory because he's got all the ladies in it at the moment. Just moving. Let me try and see if I can reposition quickly. Just bear with me for a moment. Let's see if we can try and just reverse. See if we can see them moving away. Oh, that's done us a world of good there. Have a look at all of them. I know we're looking right into the sun. There's actually a lot more of them on the other side there. So these females, in the next few months, will be giving birth, and they'll all give birth at the same time. It'll be one of their strategies of survival. If you give birth to a whole lot of little ones, there's a great chance of a few of them surviving. That's a little calf from last year. You see how her horns are quite straight. And all those females look pregnant to me. I guess only time will tell us. But this place, it's truly incredible. When the time comes around December time, they all drop their babies. There's just this abundance of life. It really is beautiful. And the rains over here bring this abundance of life, from the grasses to the trees, to the impala and the wildebeest all dropping their lambs and calves at the same time. It really is magnificent. Bob, is this the blue wildebeest? It is indeed the blue wildebeest. It is the same one that you'll get up in East Africa in the hundreds of thousands. And, I mean, there have been migratory routes here in Africa, but there's quite a lot of food. I mean, the migration up in East Africa, they're essentially following the rains and moving with the food. But here, they don't really have to move too far to get the food. And this is a really big group that we'll see down here in South Africa. But it is indeed the blue wildebeest. The black wildebeest has got slightly different horns. Have a look at this one. You see how the horns are out on the side? The black wildebeest, which you'll find in the Eastern Cape of South Africa, the black wildebeest horns are in the front. They kind of curve down and point to the front. They've also got a very bushy tail. They are slightly smaller than this as well. Almost the size of that calf on the left-hand side, maybe a little bit bigger than that, are black wildebeest. It doesn't have anything to really do with their color. But you won't find black wildebeest here in the Kruger National Park. Only the blue. How's that little one coming to have a look at us? Have a look at those horns. I mean, I'm sure she's very proud of those horns. They've been growing for the past year. And they're actually, in fact, starting. Do you see how they're almost starting to go to the left and to the right-hand side? They'll almost be straight up for quite a long time. And it's amazing. Once the wildebeest is born, it'll be up and running very, very quickly. It won't take a long time. Because if it does take a long time to get up and start running around, it will fall victim to predators. Look at these two using those horns. Oh, a little tussle. They're quite sharp as well. Dominance. They're very likely related in one way or another, I'm sure. And they've probably had the last whole year together, getting to know each other incredibly well. They've probably been fighting like that, playing and pushing and shoving for some time. And you'll see if one of those were a male. I didn't actually have a close enough look. In the next few years, once it gets bigger and stronger, he'll leave to try and establish his own territory. It'll probably be several years before he's big enough and strong enough to hold a territory quite like the one we're in at the moment, to encourage and have a constant supply of females. So I'm going to let these wildebeest continue going, and I'm going to keep going as well. Seeing as the last tracks of the Pride was around here, I'm going to do a great big loop around this open area. I'm sure they'll be interested in coming towards these wildebeest at some point this evening, or any other animals.
If Thandi came out of that block, and we found our lovely relaxed herd of elephants one more time. And their direction is pretty steadily heading towards Chitwa. They've obviously slowed down quite a lot. They're going through a little bit more of a feeding stage now. Lots of food to be consumed in the day. Lots of food to choose from now. A smorgasbord. It's like walking up to the buffet. Have you done that? Walk up to the buffet and there's all these different fruits and croissants and pastries and bacon and all those little things you just putting on your plate. So it's like at the moment for elephants. There's beautiful forbs everywhere, little flowering plants and grasses, and the trees are all in leaf. It's a time of plenty. You won't see too much bark damage to trees this time of year. A huge focus on the greenness of the vegetation. It's not saying that they won't damage trees. They might push trees over to feed on the top of them. But there is definitely a shift in the diet towards more of a herbaceous, grassy diet. But as we know, the trees and the bark and the roots have got enormous amounts of medicinal properties, and if the elephants are feeling poorly in any sort of way, they'll definitely access whatever it is that they need. There she's feeding on a little knobthorn. Oh, that's a buffalo thorn. What is that? It looks like a black monkey thorn. The leaves are very similar to that of a knobthorn, but they're a bit smaller. Hooked thorns facing backward that would make you bleed. Elephant ripping it off with her nose, sticking it into the mouth. Using the tusk, you see that, to break the branch. A little bit of leverage. It's a technique that has to be practiced. Have a look how she does it again. You see, she's got a youngster very nearby learning the tricks of the trade. See how she's looking for what she's mainly using her nose. Not really looking, smelling, knows each of the flavors. The African or savanna elephant, everybody. The acacias are very, very nitrogen rich. They are nitrogen fixers. Acacias are part of the legume family, which means that they're able to create or generate their own nitrogen through the soil, through mycorrhiza bacteria, so a symbiotic relationship in the roots. The mycorrhiza actually fix nitrogen from the atmosphere. As we all know, atmosphere is about 70-80% nitrogen. Lightning sequesters a lot of nitrogen in the soil, but bacteria in the form of rhizobacteria actually make the soil around acacias and legumes very, very nutrient rich.
We went to look for the lions earlier but couldn't find anything, so we are back with the cheetahs and we arrived just at the right time. These youngsters are very active and quite playful. Look at that. And Mum's also starting to stretch. It seems like she's ready to get a move on. These are two youngsters coming to join their mum there. Standing underneath Mum's tail. Very, very playful. As it's getting nice and cool now in the late afternoon. All of this play, developing all their muscles, teaching them a little bit how to hunt as well, taking down each other. See, this one is now moving back. See how he turns and looks towards his sibling again. Oh, a little bit tired, it seems. Here comes player number 2. Let's see what happens. It's actually quite chilly at the moment, and you can see the way that Mom's lying there, that she's getting quite cold in that little dip. These youngsters are enjoying this cool weather so much, and they're full of energy from sleeping the whole time. We had them earlier. Clementine, you're asking what is the cheetah's lifespan? They generally live in the wild up to about 15 to 16 years old, but it does happen that they get a little bit older depending on different areas and the predators that's around those areas also. Look how beautiful this youngster is. Look at that head and the face just bobbing around. Oh my goodness. One just ran underneath our vehicle. He's now on the other side of the vehicle. They're playing behind us, unfortunately. Here they come. I had a bit of a heart attack as well with them running straight towards us, and the one just went underneath my feet, underneath the vehicle and out the other side. Oh, getting quite rough now. You can see one of them is a little bit tired, lies down the whole time. Alyssa, while they are settling down, you are asking if these cheetah cubs have started to participate in the hunt yet. They haven't really participated yet. They've started showing interest in some animals. We had them earlier today stalking some warthogs or so, but I think it's more curiousness than anything else. They are still very inexperienced, and I don't think they are ready to take anything down just yet. But Alyssa, the breeding season for the impalas is going to be happening in the next month or so. And there's going to be a lot of impala lambs, and these two are just the right size, and they are just coinciding with the time that the impala lambs are coming, and I'm sure the mother will bring them back alive, impala lambs, and then we might see them start to learn how to hunt or so. The one grooming himself there a bit. One seems like he's still a little bit playful after resting for a little bit. Oh, no, just finding a different spot to lie down. Yadesh, you are asking if cheetahs hunt more during the day than the night. So on Phinda itself, we've seen that cheetahs hunt predominantly during the day. Oh, that one just pulled a thorn out of its side there. So it depends on different areas and the presence of other predators and scavengers or so. And it's quite a dense area on Phinda, so I think the cheetahs here are quite nervous to hunt during the evenings. But I think they are very opportunistic, and they might take the chance if the opportunity gets there. But in other places like the Masai Mara, I'm not 100% sure, but I've heard before that because it's nice and open there, the cheetahs actually do hunt during the evenings as well. So yes, it depends on the habitat and what the feeling of the cheetahs are according to other predators and scavengers. One just sneezed there for a little bit. I love how he's lying on top of his mom's tail. See if she wants to flick some flies away, just like he did there. His mom's gonna struggle to get her tail out. Can see the fluff there behind the youngsters' backs. Much more fluffy than mom. Look at that. She's trying to flick the flies and the insects off of her, and her tail is stuck underneath him. They were just getting rid of some energy from sleeping all afternoon. It seems like settling down quite a bit now. But I think we are going to stick around for now until it gets a bit darker, and then we'll see what these cheetahs get up to. But we'll have to leave them soon if it gets too dark. And then I think Gerrit now will stick around.
Djuma, everybody. We've allowed our elephants to move off on their wanderings into the bush as they go silently to feed. And we've just pulled ourselves back to park here in a nice quiet place, watching this dead tree stand tall in the afternoon light as the sun slowly descends towards the horizon. And we allow all of you just a moment of silence.
Okay, welcome back to andBeyond and Ngala. And now, quite interestingly, we actually followed up on alarm calls, and we managed to, we saw zebras running away and one lioness on her own, but the rest of the pride have been hunting, and they're all kind of regrouping at the moment. It's the young Birmingham male that's just come in. Oh, big yawn. So have a look in front of us as well. Here come the rest of the pride. They're all joining up. They've been scattered all over in the hunt. Here comes, let me try and get out of the shot there. There comes one of the big Ross males. He looks like the one with the big scar on his face. I can't see it this side at the moment. With a young lioness, a white one in the background, all coming to join up. So they've used, interestingly, I'm sure, an opportunity arose and what encouraged them to take this opportunity. These zebras must have come too close to this pride without them even realizing. Look how that male is scent marking. He'll be doing that to almost show dominance to that young Birmingham male. You see how he's urinating, scratching his feet into the soil, ensuring that his scent is right in the soil. So it goes onto his back feet as well, so that wherever he walks, he takes that smell with him. You hear that growling? I think that was from the Ross male. Probably just making sure that Birmingham young male can hear him loud and clear. So how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And the 10th one just walked behind us. So 10 of them. Oh, here comes the young white male. And there's another, looks like maybe one of his sisters walking here. Oh, he's just lay down there. You can hear the Franklins on our left side, alarm calling. Uses a lot of energy hunting in the heat of the day. And once the zebras have run away and once their attention has been brought to the lions, the hunt will often be over temporarily. I'm sure they'll wait for the cover of darkness. Now, you're not far away from where we were with those wildebeest. I'm sure those zebras will head into that area for the same reason that the wildebeest will try and sleep there. It's nice and open, and that'll give them the safest and the best opportunity for them to survive. They'll be able to see the lions. There's quite a big moon tonight as well, which is not in the lion's favor. The brightness of the moon will make it much easier for the wildebeest and the zebra to see the lions coming. But having so many members, I mean, we got here just as they were kind of regrouping, they will separate and kind of spread out. And it's quite amazing to watch. Even though we're on the ground, you can kind of picture it together. It'd be amazing to get a bird's eye view of how these animals split up and chase and herd animals into one another. Particularly the older females are incredibly good at it. The little ones are looking a bit tired. That young male's busy licking and cleaning his sister. Quite an amazing scene. I mean, I think we got here just after one of the lionesses was on top of the back of a zebra. Al hombre, if I'm saying that correctly. At what age do lions break away from their prides? Now, the females will spend almost their entire lives with the pride, unless the pride gets too big, in which case one or two of them may separate. The males are the ones that will actually end up leaving, and dominant males will also be, they'll change quite frequently every few years or so, and that'll ensure that genetics will be passed on. So you'll see normally at about 3 years old or even 4 years old, here come some more members, young male, there's a young female, a few more in the background, all coming to join up. So the males will leave normally at around 3 to 4. It also is situation dependent. If the males are like 2.5 years old and there's lots of brothers and there's a new takeover of males, they may leave at an earlier age. And the reason for that being is if they hang around, the new males will kill them. So the females will spend almost their whole lives together. All these females will be related. That Ross male however, is the new genetics that gets brought into the pride. It's quite amazing. I mean, the past few days I've been asked a few questions about lions sleeping and how long do they sleep for and when do they move around. I mean, most people think lions move around at night, and yes, they do most of their moving around at night, but this is completely opposite to that. It's been a really warm day today, and they've been moving around and hunting for the past, could be a couple of hours even, and moving around. And they may spend the next couple of hours sleeping until it is completely dark, in which case they'll very likely get up again, split up, separate, and get into this kind of hunting formation, which will give them the best chance at hunting and being successful. I mean, even their body language now suggests that they might have been moving around for quite some time in the heat of the day. And none of them have got any blood on their faces. Oh, listen to that. Look, something's just got their attention. I wonder what it was. Oh, how was that? Go from instantly sleeping to up. I wonder if one of the other lionesses, look at that, okay, so I wonder if one of the other lionesses hasn't maybe caught something up in a flash. Now they're even separating here. They're separating into that formation that I was mentioning. Have a look at the Ross male at the back. These ones are all running. I'm going to keep still for a moment. I'm going to try and listen to see what they are listening to. I also don't want to advantage or disadvantage anyone in this situation, whether it be predator or prey. I wonder if those one or two of the lionesses that aren't here at the moment are up ahead and still in the hunt, and maybe haven't caught something and relying on the rest of the pride to come through to maybe bring something down. I can't hear any distress calls or any serious alarm calls, but their hearing is much better than mine. I wonder if they didn't hear something. Well, they must have. For them to get up that quickly and move that quickly, something seriously interesting must have caught their attention. Wonder if one of them isn't trying to chase something into them this side. That almost seems like it'll be the best plan for now, but plans can change very quickly. One of them still lying down at the back here. I wonder if that's the Birmingham young male. I highly doubt he'll actually get anywhere near that carcass this afternoon, even if they manage to catch something with the Ross male so close. You hear those birds flying off in the distance. That gives us a good clue as to where they will be. Kind of flush those francolins out. Okay, so I'm going to spend a little bit more time right where I am listening for a few moments. And if these lions get up a little bit more and start running, that's when I'm going to start going as well. But don't go too far. I'm going to send you to another live location for the meantime.
None of it. Oh, no, they have not. Here we go again. They are super playful. This youngster's coming down to this little patch of open soil. And he's just come and lie down every time here. Let's keep an eye on the other sibling on that side. You can see how he's looking at him with intent. They have been playing for at least 15 to 20 minutes now, and I can imagine that they must be getting a little bit tired now. But see this one closest to us, how his head is still, or her head is still bobbing around, and she's twitching and very energetic still. So if we are patient, I think she might get up and stalk her sibling, or her sibling might stalk her. just panting a little bit as well after all the running around. Look at the other youngsters starting to stalk. Here we go. Just chase the other one right towards us. He's now on the other side of the vehicle. Here we go. Stalking each other, using the vehicle as a big thing that's for them to hide around. Still very curious of the vehicle as well. Okay, the other youngster has gone around us and behind us, and look at this one. We're just going to keep an eye on her. Keep a look. Here they come. Stalking and stalking. Just see it next to the vehicle. There we go. I think it's the first time that these youngsters have had the confidence of moving around the vehicle like this. Often they would have kept their distance, but they are obviously not fussed by the vehicle being around, using it to stalk each other. See this one just coming around the vehicle now again. Here we go, they're about to pounce again. See how they chase, and they kind of grab each other on the hindquarters, try and pull each other down, and trip each other up, just like they would an Impala or an Ngala one day. And look at that biting around the neck as well. So the mother has actually stood up once or twice and then gone and lie down exactly at the same spot. So I think she's maybe decided to settle down in this open clearing that we have here. Nice area for her to sleep with her youngsters and rest during the evening, keep an eye out for other predators. But these youngsters, they keep on moving away from each other and then settling down, and then they'll catch their breath, and then you'll just see them get up and stop chasing each other again. Seems like they're settling down for now though. See how Mom was just grooming herself in the middle there? She's just listening to another vehicle that's coming past. But there's quite a bit of grooming happening from her side. So I wonder if she is maybe a little bit keen to get a move on. So she's yawning or grooming a bit. But I think we are going to stick with them for a little bit more and just see if they do move, so it's a bit easier for us to find them again tomorrow morning. But in the meantime, yeah, we'll stick around.
Those cheetahs sound like they were super cute. And we were driving along now, also looking for super cute stuff, and our attention was caught by this gorgeously flowering tree. Now, this is what I believe a purple pod cluster leaf. The scientific name is Terminalia prinoides, and I, was like thinking, this is so beautiful, it must smell great. I went up to it, had a bit of a sniff. It smells absolutely horrendous. I actually knew it would smell horrendous because the cluster leaves are quite famous for smelling really, really stinky. And what's interesting is I think there's even some flies that are being attracted to it. Well, they were anyway a moment ago. So these things don't attract butterflies, or they might attract some butterflies, but mostly they're attracting flies and other sorts of carrion-eating insects that would be attracted to things that are really smelly, like carcasses. And so this is just one Terminalia prinoides, one purple pod cluster leaf that's flowering right here, but there's a whole avenue of them around us, and once they all start flowering, it'll be quite an interesting center on this area. Now, it's not just interesting because of the flowers, although I've never seen them flowering quite so spectacularly before, but they also have these beautiful purple pods, which is what the name, suggests. And if you soak those in boiling water, you can actually get a purple or a maroon-colored dye out of it as well, which is quite interesting. I've never tried it before, but I know that it can be used for that. And this year, when they all fruit so beautifully after all these flowers, I suspect we're going to have a bumper crop. I'll try and see if I can make a little dye out of the purple pods. And interestingly, it's also used, or known to be used, for coughs and other chest ailments. If you take the bark and chew on it, the sap from the bark is supposedly supposed to help with, sore throats and chesty coughs and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how that goes. Our winter season is over, so we shouldn't have too many people getting any coughs. But once the winter comes along, we'll give it a go as well and see how we can get. But look at those flowers. They really are pretty, aren't they? From a distance, all you see is white, these white, fluffy-looking things. When you get up real close to them, they're so intricate. It's one of my favorite parts of the springtime, is just looking at all the flowers. I mean, they are really the most perfect things. They do look like tiny... Rebecca in the FC thinks they look like tiny little jellyfish, and they totally do, actually. Like little jellyfish, or I was trying to think... Yeah, definitely jellyfish. I was trying to think maybe a cake with candles on it. But they're really, really intricate and beautiful. And I want to take some photos of them to just get a record shot, because I've never seen them like this before. I mean, every year we see the fruit, so they must flower as well. The flowers are not available without the fruits. I'm also listening that the birds are all starting to settle down now. There's a dung beetle flying around us. I wonder if it's been attracted to this tree. It seems to have settled somewhere. I don't know where. But we can hear the birds are starting to call, just to announce where they're going to be settling down. Some of the animals are starting to settle. The nocturnal animals like lions and leopards are going to start getting active. So we're actually going to head down towards Leopard Dam now, because we saw tracks of a female leopard. We're hoping that maybe she pops out as it starts to get darker.
Here at Tswalu, the lions are still taking it easy, not being active at all as compared to earlier on. Just taking a last snooze before they start becoming active for the night, also being nocturnal animals. So let's see what happens. There was a bit of a eye-opening there. Maybe checking surroundings. Maybe heard something and down. Jacqueline, does it take a lot of effort for a lion to roar? I would like to think so. If you look at how a lion has to roar, firstly, they've got a larynx and they don't really have a voice box. And in the larynx is actually two set of cartilages that would grind or flap around each other. It's almost like two rolling balls of cartilage, loose hanging cartilage. And for them to activate that, they have to push a large amount of air from the stomach, forcing those cartilages in the larynx to actually vibrate. And the resonance comes with the mouth, how they open the mouth, and that's how the voice is created. So the amount of air that they push from the stomach would also amplify the sound that they would make with the roar. And that's why the youngsters, as earlier maybe we could hear them, they still have like a meow kind of a sound where the cartilages have not really developed in the larynx. So yes, I would like to think it takes a lot of effort. I mean, if you look at males roaring, sometimes the whole body moves when they do roar. I mean, whether they do it on the side, whether they do it half standing, you can actually see from when they give it effort and how they put emphasis on their neck muscles, just making sure everything is out there. And it's also, I mean, roaring for them is not just a thing they just do. I mean, vocalization for them is communication, marking territory, telling others of their presence and advertising that they are there, advertising their dominance. So they have to really do it in such a way that they themselves could be proud in it, and it could intimidate if it's meant to intimidate others. So the purpose of that roar should be fulfilled, and for it to be fulfilled has to come from the within of that animal, from the core of that animal. So yes, I would like to think it does take an immense amount of energy for them to do that. Everything peaceful. Lion sleeps tonight, as they say.
Welcome back to Djuma, everyone, where Theo and myself have just been working very hard here, enjoying this silence, this beautiful sky as the sun set through the tree, and the light and the clouds, very much like a painting. So we have the opportunity to just allow you another small little moment, but why don't you just allow us to, or send through a one-word tweet about how moments like this make you feel, the hashtag WildEarth, and then we'll just listen a little bit longer to the sounds of the birds as they quieten down. Stuck in bed says absolutely marvelous. It is indeed magical. I can't get enough of these beautiful skies, everybody. I hope you don't mind me stopping and sharing them with you. I know many of you enjoy these moments. In my opinion, these quiet moments with the sky and the birds calling are some of the most magnificent that can be shared. And well, we'd love to share them with you.
These youngsters have started settling down now quite a bit. We were just sticking with them until it gets nice and dark like this, to see where they will kind of settle down for the evening. But looking at the mom there furthest to the right, she's settled down completely, eyes closing a bit and everything. So I think this is the spot that they are going to be resting for the evening. If they do move, they won't go very far from here. It just gives us a better chance of finding them tomorrow morning. But we won't be viewing cheetah because they are predominantly diurnal, so active during the day. And we want to be sensitive to them so that we give them all the opportunity to spot other predators in the evenings. Look at the youngsters. This one closest to us also closing his eyes, falling asleep a bit. And then the one there in the back just keeping an eye on them, on her. Got something on its face there, like a piece of grass or so. But I think we are going to say goodnight to these cheetahs for now and keep on going and see what else we can find. But come and look for them again in the morning.
Cool, welcome back everybody. Now, Birmingham Pride have settled down once again. I don't know what got their attention, but one of the females came walking back up. I wonder if she didn't give a call to almost say that she was expecting help from everybody else, or that she was in the process of trying to catch or chase something. So they're all settled down again, wondering if there's not another couple of members that are around. We're still missing a few members here. They are maybe on the peripheries, trying to chase or herd some animals into the pride here. If something did run into them, that would be their best way to take it down. Although, I mean, we saw earlier, although they're right down and flat, if they hear or see something, that'll get their attention incredibly quickly. Hey, just listening. So am I. I'm listening very carefully to see if I can't hear anything, alarm calls, soft contact calls, distress calls. A couple of them yawning. They are awake, very much so. Also, can a female roar just as loud as a male? Not quite, but they can still roar incredibly loudly. The males are quite a lot bigger, and they can roar quite a lot louder. So I just saw some movement, which got a few of their attention. I'm just going to keep looking there, see if it wasn't maybe a prey species or what it was. It didn't actually look like a prey species. It Looked like maybe another cat. Maybe it was one of the other lionesses coming back. I can't see it now anymore. I'm just going to stick on these lines for now. I wonder what that was. So as it starts to get a little darker, Odie's actually just going to switch to infrared. This is going to make it a little bit easier for us to see. This has no impact on them. There's no light on these lines whatsoever. They have no idea that this infrared camera has changed anything. Sorry, I'm also trying to get a real good look as to what's moving around behind them. One or two of them are... This one in the right-hand side of the shot is looking exactly where I'm looking. It is quite thick. Oh, see that, Franklin? This has just got a... See, something has chased those Franklin, or as it's walking, spooked them. It's quite interesting. I wonder what that was. It's that time of the day when everything's starting to call, the birds all finding places for themselves to rest. Leopards and hyenas and things are all starting to move around now as well. Okay, so just hold on for 1 minute. I'm going to try and move a little bit. That movement's coming a bit closer, and I don't think it's a lion. So just stand by for 1 second. It's in fact a leopard, holy moly. So, it's just walked behind the tree. So Odie, let's see if we can see it. Behind that tree over there, she's walking to the left, looked like a female just from her size. Let's see if she doesn't pop out. I hope she doesn't walk into these lines because that'll be to her detriment. So let's see if it pops out. Definitely was a leopard. Come on, keep walking. Come on. So leopard's moving, it looked like she was on her own as well, which is generally the case. I wonder if she's aware that these lions are here. There's not much of a breeze, so I can't even tell you which way the direction of this, or the smell of these lions is going. Come on, pop around from the other side of the bush, just so we can see you. I can't even move a little bit forward because I'm pretty much right on top of these lions, and I don't want to disturb them at all. Oof. I'm also right on the edge of my seat at the moment, just waiting to see if it doesn't pop out. I really hope this leopard doesn't come kind of bolting into this area. A few of the lions have kind of got up and moved around, actually. I hope they don't chase her into this pride, because that'll be almost certainly the end. I don't know if it's a male or a female, but it was definitely a leopard. Looked quite small, maybe a young male. I wonder if she hasn't, or he or she hasn't stopped on the other side of that bush where we can't see her, kind of stopping, listening. I wonder if she hasn't got their attention. I mean, her best form, her or his best form of defense would be to climb straight up that tree if the lions did go for her, which she'll be able to do very easily, and she'll be well out of the reach of the lions. A couple of them are up and moving around. See, the lions are now up and moving around. There's a lioness right behind me. Let me not move. Hello. Jeez. spent so much time trying to look for a leopard. I got an incredibly big fright there. I'm sure they're calling softly, these lions. I'm sure this leopard now knows about these lions. This gives me a bit of a chance to move a bit forward. The ones that are right in front of me got up and moved. So, Odia, I'm going to try and move a little bit forward here. Well, hold on. There's one that's about to walk right past us again here. I'm going to let her do it, and then I'm going to try and move. Here she comes. Following in the footsteps of that Ross male and that female. I'm going to try and move a tad forward here. Got a bit of space now. So that other vehicle has just confirmed that it was a leopard as well. So I might try and... That other vehicle has just confirmed that it was a leopard. And I think it seems like it's just changed direction. So I'm probably going to send you to another live location for now. I've got a decision to make here, whether I follow the lions that are up and moving. I'll probably go and have a look at that leopard quickly as well.
Well, that sounds all very exciting. And while we see if that leopard pops out, I found something exciting myself. Now, birds excite me a lot. And this is the feather of what I believe might be a starling or some other slightly iridescent dark bird, maybe like a green wood hoopoo or something. And this is that same feather of the spotted eagle owl that we've been showing you over the last, little while. And I've just kept it... Oh, I can... Oh, yeah, sorry, I was holding it way too close. There you go. That's much better. Goodness gracious me. So you can see this one's still covered in the fur. So this is the one that's very quiet when it flies, very silent. And this one over here, you can see the sharp edges, not soft edges. There's no fur covering this. It's very smooth. And that's so that it can be really shiny and catch that iridescence. And also so it can be very fast when it flies. And it doesn't need to be quiet. It doesn't need to be able to be stealthy at all. It just needs to be able to fly very quickly and keep its feathers nice and shiny and neat. So I thought that's very interesting. Now I want to try something. I just want to show you. When you get really close to this, I don't know if you can get closer than that, Seb, but...
Could you push them back a little bit more, please?
Yeah, sure. Like that. There you go. So these actually can spread out. Do you see that? They're actually... Each individual fiber here is held together by a system of hooks. And when they split apart, do you see that? They're actually like held onto each other. They're hooked on there, so you can smooth them back on again, and then it will be like it was never... Oh, I didn't do a very good job there. No, I broke it. It's broken forever. But essentially, that's what the bird does with its bill. When it separates the feathers, or when the feathers have separated because they've been flying or they bumped into something, then they use their bill to sort of like squeeze it back together. Oh my goodness, I'm making a real hash out of it. I made it worse. Okay, well, I'm obviously not a bird, so I'm not very good at smoothing feathers. But essentially, that's what they're meant to do. They use their bill, and they smooth their feathers out to make them nice and hooked again. So sitting here right now, we are also listening and waiting. We're very close to the dam, where we think that the leopard was with her youngsters earlier today or maybe last night. So we're just going to wait around here and hope that she pops out. And I wonder how Dan's leopard scenario is going. Has he been lucky? Has he not? Let's hope for the best.
Okay, so we have been very lucky in finding the leopard. Here she is right on our right-hand side. She's a little bit nervous because of the lions, I think. So, okay, I'm going to stop right here. Let's see if we can get her. There she goes. It looks like a young female. And luckily for her, she has in fact changed her direction. Well, she would have found herself in a very tricky situation. She's obviously got the advantage of being able to climb up a tree incredibly quickly. She's quite small and fragile, particularly compared to a lion. Let me keep going a little bit, see if we can... There's a beautiful marula tree there. I wonder if she's not going to go up there and smell. The lions have continued in a different direction. They're not necessarily going to hunt her, but if she did come into the picture, the lions would kind of eliminate competition. That's the way how they would see it. And they wouldn't even think twice about killing her, unfortunately. We saw that yesterday at Djuma, how the hyena killed that leopard cub. Not to necessarily eat the leopard, or the hyena would very likely eat the leopard cub, but the lions, I would be surprised if they ate her. It'll be a dominance display and elimination of competition. Let's see if I can get into a more open area here. She's moving just up ahead on our right-hand side. Okay, I'm going to hold into this gap, Oates. There she comes. There she is. Isn't she beautiful? Just moving. He's managed to dodge this. I mean, leopards being so secretive and shy naturally. She would have been able to avoid. I wonder if those lions even knew she was there. Because she walks so quietly and carefully, stopping every now and then, looking, listening, smelling. I'm sure she noticed those lions before they noticed her. So I'm going to keep following her. The lions are to our right somewhere, and for me to find them in the next 5 minutes is going to be super tricky. So for now, I'm going to send you to another live location. I'm going to try and keep up with her. We're not far away from another road. I wonder what her plan is going to be. Don't go too far.
Well, it's not quite as exhilarating as a leopard that is, well, shame, dung beetles, you didn't go well there. Not quite as exhilarating as a leopard being kind of followed by lions or trying to evade lions, but interesting to see. A lot of people think that dung beetles are only active during the day, and that's not the case. These guys will be active even at night, and they're able to do so because they are able to use the moon and stars in order to orientate themselves, which is pretty crazy. You wouldn't expect a little insect to be able to do that, but the light from the moon will allow them to be able to figure out where they need to go. And so what you will have found is that the individual would have, well, these two individuals would have rolled a big ball, and it's now the male and female are trying to find a place where they can go and bury it. The problem is that this dung beetle is pushing it up a hill that he will, I'm afraid, not get up. The ball is way too big and the hill's way too steep. So wait for it. It's going to come back rolling down. It's just, maybe he'll get it right. I don't think so, but you never know. Sometimes these guys can surprise you. I just love how the one just sits on the top. No, it's teetering. No, there we go. Oopsie. Off it goes back into the road again. Sometimes when you watch this process, you just want to help them and kind of like pick it up and put it there. But obviously that's not the way to be doing things, and they'll drop the ball if you do that. The thing that amazes me is how the one just sits there. It doesn't move. It gets rolled over. It gets shoved into the dirt, but yet it is happy to stay. It's not going to move anywhere. It obviously knows that this is the ball that it wants, and so off it goes. But an amazing display of strength if you look at the size of the ball versus the size of the insect. To be able to use those big front legs to push it, even as far up that little hill that it got it, is absolutely amazing. Floss, exactly. One of them is just hitching a ride. It's certainly not helping at all. Do you think it's shouting at the other one from below, like push harder, you've got to do better? I mean, I don't think that would be the case, but imagine if it did. It would be the worst thing. You need to give that one like a little whip on top, and then it would, be able to make the other one work harder, or dangle a carrot in front of it to make it work harder. But this one has got no chance, and it's going the wrong way, unfortunately, because the way that it's going is further down the hill. and the bank actually gets steeper and steeper as it goes. If it rolled the other way, it's got a very gentle slope on the road that would take it into the bush where it wants to go. But of course, with them, they don't realize that. They're trying to use orientation, like I say, via a light source. And so they just go in the most direct route possible. It's done quite well, though. It's gotten quite far. This is the last little push it needs to go in order to get it into the grassed area. I wonder if it's going to just excavate right there. Looks like it is. Yeah, look, it's burying the dung ball right there on the edge of the road. See how it's moving the sand? So it's using its head and its legs just to bury it down, and you'll be surprised how fast these guys bury. No, don't go too far underneath, otherwise you're going to end up dropping it down. That's so cool. Now the other one needs to come up and start helping. But you can see underneath the ball there's that movement. So that's where it's digging into the bank, trying to get it to go into the ground as far as possible. Amazing. They're such incredible little creatures. And it just goes to show you, sometimes you've got to just stop and enjoy the smaller things. Like I said, it's not the time of day where you would normally watch dung beetles, but this is what happens sometimes. Very cool. One bit of news actually before we finish up for the evening is that the Djuma Pride are moving towards Djuma. So those of you that do watch our dam cam, pay attention this evening. They are heading kind of in the direction of where the dam cam would be. They haven't crossed the boundary yet, but I'm pretty sure they're about 100 meters from it. So hopefully they'll come over. It'd be nice to have the Pride back this side after they're feasting on a hippo and a giraffe. So we'll see if they do make an appearance tomorrow morning. Anyway, we're going to say goodbye. It's been another great afternoon in the African wilderness. We hope that you enjoyed it, and we'll see you all tomorrow morning on our sunrise safari.
Hi, I'm Mike Anderson, and I come to you live every day from Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy in South Africa. The wild animal I think is most underrated. I think buffaloes are the most underrated. They're so tenacious and ferocious, and also very, very protective of each other, which I find incredible. You know, sometimes people think of the big five, they just think of lions and leopards and other big animals, but I think buffaloes are pretty underrated. Join me on my next adventure in the African wild on channel 183 on DSTV.
This program features